margin of error in this high level lobby where any tiny mistake, they pick up that one kill. But Vitality, the team that they are, recognizing that they need to rotate first because they need that time and space, and they used it to affect losing a member, but Attacks picked up that loot and then found themselves back in the lobby within 2 minutes. So that's exactly the type of competition we are looking at here today. And we will see some more high flying action here very shortly, as now we move over to taking a look at Rustinmar here holding a position in this apartment. Looks like we have a few teams already opting for the coast and the water. And that's something that is just an issue or a factor when you come to these channel circles or with the river involved. And we'll see how teams manage getting out of here, Dan.
Kaz is already starting to get those initial shots down. Team 3 already aware that they cannot go up those rocks anymore. They're going to have to go further over to their own right-hand side. Vexed in a very difficult position. If they go to one side, Vega. If they go to the other, they're going to have Wind and Rain on their tails as well. Wind and Rain going to be shooting from multiple directions here, cutting them off at every angle they possibly can. And they cannot return fire onto those apartments, especially from the position they have. Looking at this next circle as well, we do have Team 16. That's the Vectors Esports. Very nice position within there, but only the solo member from the looks of this, as we see Georgia Pole slowly starting to phase out here. But those hills are going to become high priority anytime now as teams making this rotation.
And you know what, Dan, that's a perfect call out, because looking at Finstack, they've taken that adjacent hill across from Gamers Origin, and it looks like Zargan might have spotted FaZe. So we will have a bit of a battle here breaking out between Gamers Origin and FaZe here as the initial shots come out. Now we're going to have to see a rotation here from Gamers Origin, but maybe not. Fuzzface getting an initial down there. He's gonna have to be res. There's nothing they can do to maintain this fight if they're going to be facing a Gamers Origin at a disadvantage. Phantom there with the AWM. It hasn't hurt. I haven't heard it ring out just yet, but FaZe is now behind the 8-ball, having to res a teammate and then rotate. So we'll have to see how they handle this pressure. But for now, it's up to Jempty. Missing the initial shot. Phantom will win that trade with the AWM. Dan, if you're FaZe here, are you feeling the pressure already?
You're on the edge, you've got a nice position, you have geographical cover, but you're staring down an AWM. You're staring down a team of 4 members. You have the older Car 98, not going to be able to return fire into that one. Jempty losing a huge chunk of health going into this. Backfoot has been established. They're making the rotation. Calm and collected cool. Once again, as they move off, Gamers Origin have every advantage in this situation, and they are not taking that lightly. We see them 25th currently in the leaderboard, but that doesn't mean anything because these guys have been showing up time and time again. Average points per game of 21.3, but these guys have 4 players left alive, and they have everything to play for still. And that AWM could still mean absolutely everything in these sniper battles.
You know, we've seen the meta kind of shift away from the sniper rifle to the double AR. Now, that is obviously if there's something available. As we see here, it looks like we have a trade coming out. Elite player jumping out the window, looking to get some position here. So this is m19 engaging here with Wind and Rain, the team that we had spoken about earlier in the broadcast. Now, this is a situation where they are in the circle, so trades are available. But this house fighting with so many teams around this edge, these guys have to know they have neighbors on all sides. AVANGAR nearby, Gamers Origin, everyone has a little bit of a line of sight, and there's going to be a transition happening soon. So we'll have to see what the circle does. I'm feeling like we're going to wind up in the fields in North Georgia here, and that's going to mean a very difficult transition.
It's going to be a brutal circle transition as well. Squadron, currently our man on the board. He's spotted a couple of players out, and he is very deep in enemy territory here. We can see I am Larry on his right-hand side. He needs to be very careful going around this wall. Larry does still have an idea of exactly where he is. Neil's also staring down the barrel of this one. That's not going to be the shots coming down just yet. Squadron playing this so carefully, not wanting to lose anything just yet. Playing for placements as the solo player. 1 kill on the board already. Will he be forced into making it more? Has to make that run. Now, of course, we will be seeing as this transition does come through. He doesn't have too far to go. And he won't have too far to go to the next circle, as we're not exactly going to have those northern hills that we were looking for.
I fully expected Northern George to get adjusted out here. very infrequently will we see this many buildings stay in the game this late. But this transition hill where Gamers Origin is pressing, and they're pressing on a vehicle, which is very dangerous this late in the game. They have to be very cautious. They're running right into a full squad here. Sunbird, the initial shots ring out. Now they're running right into Finstack as well. Gamers Origin barely avoiding death there as all the guns turn towards them, but they have nowhere to stop. Now Timmy's taking one down. Maney going down. Oh, just barely does he make it away, but unconspicuous.
He is down.
And he's down now. That vehicle transition, very questionable this late in the game, Dan.
Very much so, and not even going towards where the circle actually was. They knew teams could be rotating in from there. They didn't need to make such a large transition. Of course, decision-making will be reset for Game 2 for these guys, and there are still players left on the board. That scouting mentality this late in the game definitely causing their downfall. We are hearing more gunshots towards the northwest of this current circle. Sunbird from Team 9. That's going to be the House of Nobles currently staring down another team. Team 1 looking to find their own rotation, but they have to fight for this new stake.
Yeah, Finstack having to use this nice little hill. I like their positioning. They have vehicle cover. They have the hill. They have some vision. But that circle is going to pressure them a little bit forward. They're going to have to run it. Now it's vehicles again. We've seen this. Oh, he can't get up the hill fast enough. The transition botched there as the vehicle's receiving all sorts of fire. Jerpsy going down. Siki going down. And Zulu, the last man across, is likely not going to make it either as Finstack takes an intense amount of damage. Timmy Z, the last man standing, as we see more vehicles in transition, just trying to crash. I think you could kind of tell by the way he was behaving here that they all expected North George to come out here. Now they're all facing down well-entrenched enemies.
Well-entrenched being the aim of the game here, and these guys who do have their houses available to them are just going to be living there for a little bit longer. They have no reason to move at this moment in time. Wait for the transition. It's all about when you move. If you move too early, as demonstrated there, it's not really going to be going too well for you, especially when everybody's so decked out in this game. We're going to be seeing plenty of violence coming through. The next circle will be establishing itself very soon as well. Team 11 staring down the barrel over at Team 13 and Team 12 at the second. So FaZe on the back end of some fires. They've found themselves a nice position within this hill, but Helu, he's just saying hello to these guys, and great people only, currently placed 35, facing down some of our favorites already.
FaZe has not had an easy run into this last zone. Now we will see again North George finally be adjusting out, but it's going to put these teams in this spot where Elite Player and the rest of M19 have the remaining vehicle cover, but there is like nothing else. That's it. So this pressure around M19 is going to mount very quickly, as it's going to be a desperate attempt to grab whatever cover is available. This is going to be a bloodbath transition. Moving here, looks like we have a couple it looks like Flix21 is going to try and grab this nice little cover here, but Pony Rider is right there, and they see the same position in their sights. So Blitz mounting a Blitz attack here. Sunbird having picked up a couple of kills just recently, now having to fend off a full team push. Dan, what do you do in this position? You're all grouped up.
You have to go for the firefight here. You can't really wait this out too much. There is a push coming onto you right now. Team 7, Team Blitz, they are looking for this Blitzkrieg at the second, and Susie is putting the pressure on from the left side. Grenades starting to come down. Smoke coverage is going to be provided, and that will just give them a narrow escape. But that's not going to be it for Botsman, as Menox able to take him down with such a nice flick of the wrist there. Looking at the rest of this Team 7, don't need to push too far. They don't need to blitz too hard into this one. They already have the advantageous position.
So now FaZe, having been forced into a corner here, are going to have to start taking some fights downhill. They need to clear this transition. So now it looks like it's going to be Team Blitz receiving fire from FaZe. FaZe needs to land a couple of downs here, but maybe in conjunction with the team they just started fighting down there at the rocks. But FaZe continues to receive damage here. Jempty now without a vest. Meds are available, but that circle is moving. FaZe has no cover. It is looking bleak here. They're going to need to make an absolute Herculean effort to make it into the zone using that little natural cover there, that low side of the hill. to get a little bit of a foothold here. It looks like Fuzzface will make initial entry, but meanwhile, we have Novus Ignis here moving on to AVANGAR, holding on to this apartment building. This is going to be intense here, Dan.
pro100 also in the mix. 2 players of them just waiting on the outside, waiting to pick off anyone in there. We're hearing those silence shots. Silence are not going to be doing too much at this stage of the game when these guys are so close to one another. A couple of nades trying to fish out any extra shots that can be established, but this is getting deadly, and that M24 sounded beautiful.
Reynes on top with that high-powered sniper rifle. FaZe has got all eyes on them so far. We see Shiv going down, so that'll be Vitality eliminated here very early, going out in 11th place. But FaZe not far behind, just barely holding on to the edge of the zone, and we will see all buildings come out now. If you're FaZe, you have to just tuck in and wait here, because a lot of these teams are going to do the heavy lifting for you. A lot of eliminations are going to be coming here very quickly. Our House of Nobles held out on the edge of the zone. They're going to have to do battle here with Team Blitz. There's no way around it. They're going to have to move. And FaZe, like old Reliable, is almost seeing a silver lining here.
Oh, and the stair push, not going to be working out for this one, but Anoctiv able to stretch that one out and trade on to Anoctiv. Anoctiv still looking for anything he can. That's going to be the team wipe. Number 10 has been established in the leaderboards so far today. As look at the amount of downs also coming into this one. Corin Paska, he's looking to pick up on anything he can. Vulture a couple of kills away, get those standings, get those points for his team. But these guys will need to push very soon. Who will push first? Who's going to establish that firing line? As those fields nice and open still. Fuzzface, he's pretending to be a little bit of grass at the second, but we don't want grass, we want these bullets. Looking at these apartments at the second, still going absolutely ham. The house push is starting to come down. Team 3 trying to cut off Team 14 on the outside of this one, but that's Rustin Mar of Team 4 able to trade. There's one back from Team 3, but the trade back once again. This is a bloodbath.
There is nothing to be done. These teams are just absolutely desperately trying to get out of their buildings into the zone. Fuzzface now holding down his team, getting wiped behind him. Fuzzface now the last man standing, having to play the sneaky snake. Pony Rider right on top of him, and FaZe is going to go out as well. So FaZe eliminated here in 6th place. Nothing to be done as all of those buildings emptied almost immediately, and it is still ongoing here. AVANGAR engaged with m19 now. m19 desperately holding on to one of the last remaining buildings in the zone, but now it's AVANGAR actually looking like they have the upper hand as the zone continues to close. This is intense, Dan. There's basically nowhere to go. This hill is the last remaining decent piece of cover, but they have to play both sides. AVANGAR still 4 up headed into the end game, and this looks like this is their game to lose.
AVANGAR having an M24, having an AWM, they are able to get the downs almost immediately. Whether they can secure them with a gentle push will be the next thing to bear in mind. 3 teams still currently on this, and you have to favor AVANGAR in this position. Flix is going to be taken out of this by the play zone, as now we have our top 2. Team number 8 of m19, followed by Team 13 of AVANGAR, the 4-man firing squad, the death squad. Going to be breaching this house very soon. They don't need to force this too heavily. Shots already starting to come down as they crest this hill. They could be looking for the winning play right now, but Example not able to get anything just yet. Only one player now left up and alive. Traded out onto 1.
Here come the nades. The nades got to come out here. They know they have it down. They did lose a teammate. They're looking for that angle. Going to put some more pressure there. It looks like Elite Player does take that shot. He's unable to get the res. AVANGAR essentially have this in kind. There's no way, unless there's some sort of miracle situation happening here for Elite Player, if the res comes off in time, 7 seconds before the next shrink, and that zone will completely destroy them. Mumino grabbing the angle on the reverse end to make sure that no one can get out the back. AVANGAR has this basically sewn up. Elite Player going to make his move in the zone, and he will go down, and AVANGAR is going to win this game. This game number 1. Dan, what went right for AVANGAR in this situation, and how can you repeat this going into the next game?
Consistency is going to be difficult for them here. They were facing down incredible teams within the lobby. They made sure that they were in the right position at the right time every single time on the rotations, playing the pushes perfectly. We saw at the end there, they took up a position which meant that that was going to have to be the team pushing into them. They weren't pressured throughout the entire thing. They stayed so calm, so collected, and they took that game with a grand total of 11 kills to their name. Very well deserved and very well earned to start this night off.
That is game number 1. We're going to kick it back over to the analyst desk to break down this hectic action. And Dan and I will see you in game number 2. Analyst desk, take it away.
Game number 1 in the books, and it is AVANGAR taking the big win in a disastrous, messy North Georgia Pole showdown, I have to say. That was a brutal one, to say the least. Cameron, take it away, sir.
Yeah, so Moses asked at the end there what went right for AVG, and basically what happened to them is that they had control of that last apartment building that was in Northern Georgia Pole. They were able to not only basically keep control of that, take care of everyone else around them, but at the same time, take care of FaZe, who was right ahead of them. And in that fight, because they had the compound, AVG did have the advantage because they had harder cover, but the downside is that they had the blue at their back. And so it was actually a very, very small margin of error, a very short window that they had to make it work. But they were able to take control of the area around them, take control of the area in front of them, and then move into the area in front of them where FaZe was. And because the blue closed right behind them, they couldn't get backstab and turn. There was no leapfrog effect that could have happened there. And so it was the fact that they were able to land all of their shots in such a short amount of time that able to allow them to take control of the area. They were able to pick up a lot of high-powered sniper rifles in the meantime as well. I believe I saw an AWM and an M24 at the end. So really it was just tight teamwork, and they hit their shots when it was necessary. They didn't take the entire game with a significant number of kills because they weren't into that many firefights. But the important thing is that they took the firefights that they needed to take when they needed to take them at the one time that they had to take over the game because of it.
Mr. Porosaurus?
Yes. I mean, I completely would agree with Cammy that it was really the part on AVANGAR to take the fights that they took and make the moves that they made when they did them. If you go and try to make that move up to the hillside any earlier or any later, you know, you're probably going to lose a member or two here or there. But the fact that they did it right when they did it, they were still able to keep all 4 members up and still have all those sniper rifles to be able to kind of do a lot of damage onto everything around it. Because let's be honest, that circle doesn't favor anybody. Nobody was in a position of power in that circle towards the end, towards any of them. I mean, you saw all the people that were in North George were going to be forced to have to move out of all those compounds, which is hell on earth. I mean, you're surrounded by everybody, and you saw, I think we dropped from like 40 players to about 12 in a matter of less than a minute. So, yeah, I mean, I think that AVANGAR just did a really good job of picking their fights and making sure they came out ahead.
Now, what's interesting here in a zone like this is we talk about it all the time. If you're in a city and part of the final zone is a city, you're going to have a ton of teams that are involved, number 1. Number 2, the advantage goes to everybody outside immediately. If you stay outside of the city, if you maintain a position outside of the city, most of the time you are at an advantage based on you're not going to have to run with 45 other people across a 10-foot field or something all at the same time. Now, I think there was a couple fights there that were very vital and important. Number 1 was a fight that never developed, and that was Team Blitz, who was up in the north of the zone in the field, taking on House of Nobles. And the other one was House of Nobles and Finstack, where I think I would like to say, I mean, you know, they mentioned it a little bit that it may have been a bit of an error. I think it was an error by Finstack. They should have taken that fight instead of hopping in the vehicles and forcing themselves into the city. And I think that that decision that they made there to deny the confrontation between them and House of Nobles for the compound in the northwest and deciding, let's not fight this, let's just go, cost them, I mean, obviously it cost them the game as they were exploded and shot out of the vehicles on the way. But I think that that is a position, if you're Finstack, I mean, Finstack, you're a good enough team fighting-wise that you can take a full, I mean, I guess it would have been a 3v3 or a 4v3. And And I think that was probably the better decision coming out of them. And I wanted your opinion first, Poro, on how you think, I guess, that changed the game, because there was no clear four-man winner from the North. It was very choppy, very messy, and then we saw at the end there AVANGAR coming over the hill on the eastern side, able to finish everyone off because they didn't have a huge conflict with another four-man squad.
It's a very, very specific question.
It is a very, very specific question. It is a deep question, and I want your opinion on how you think that changed the game, on how you think those teams and their decisions may have altered the outcome, I should say.
Well, you know, honestly, when I first saw that circle, I was thinking, the first thing I thought was the north side of that circle is probably the place to be, right? And that's kind of where you saw Vitality make their way, not immediately, but because of the fact that, you know, it's very unlikely that there's going to be a lot of teams on that north side, while you know that the North George city side is going to be hella populated. And so north side, I would imagine, would be a better place. But in this particular situation, there's no cover out there. So unless you're one of these teams that's able to get multiple vehicles out there and kind of create cover and create a fort for yourself that can kind of get that circle luck to where, you know, you can hold that field and still have some amount of cover, it's going to be rough for you. But when you're talking about all the teams that were kind of to the north of that little ridge, just north of Georgia Pole, you know, it's such a weird decision to make, because you have to decide when is the appropriate time to try to go for that. If you go too early, you leave yourself exposed to anybody who's still on the ground around. If you go too late, you're trying to push into people that might have already had control over it. So I think Finstack was trying to make a play thinking that that was the appropriate time to try to go in, and maybe they were being pushed by the blue or something, or maybe their med situation or ammo situation was not ideal. Either way, they just didn't like their position where they were. They didn't feel good about the fight, and so I can't fault them for not feeling good about the fight, because, as you said, they are good enough players to where, you know, they know if they're in a equal footing with somebody else, they have faith in their ability to fight it. So I have to feel that there was something off about it that they just didn't like, that made them not want to take it. But in the end, again, also just pushing across. I think that was it them that pushed across in vehicles and just kind of like died in the middle of the street. Okay, yeah. So yeah, obviously it didn't work out as well as you'd hope, but you know, that was a decision they made, and all of the teams stuck with it, which is all you can really hope for when your shot caller makes a decision, that everybody goes with it, regardless of whether or not it's good or bad. You can then go back after the fact and say, okay, maybe that wasn't the best decision. Here's why.
Very, very interesting. Now we're getting lobby obviously set up for game number 2. AVANGAR taking game number 1. M19 in second place. House of Nobles in third place. Cameron, I want your opinion on the cities. Now we have the cities there, and we get this 50% zone.
Yeah.
Jamming your members into a city, forcing yourself into a city.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the fight outside. It's a risk-reward decision. That's what it is, right? What are your thoughts on that as you smile?
Oh, no, I've been very vocal for a long time about how I don't like cities, and I understand the reason why teams go in. If you're looking at, take Vitality, for example. Shiv was the only one left, and I didn't see whether his team got taken out in transition or if he went into the city because he was the only one left. But it's cities in ways. The decision to go into cities can often be, not always, if you're a first team in the city, oftentimes because you're just first there, or maybe you looted up that area like AVG did, but also at the same time, the decision when you see players like Shiv in this game go into a city is the same reason why you'd see players go into water, because it gives you immediate cover, even though getting out of it is incredibly difficult to do. It's basically just, okay, we're not going to win this, but at least we can survive for a little longer. In this particular city, though, you just... If it swings off of it, like it did eventually at the very end, and this is the reason why AVG won, is because you cannot maintain control of exits from the city because of that bowl. If that hill was maybe more like a plateau and you can take control of the plateau on top, it would be one thing. But the fact that it's literally a peak on top, you hide from one side or the next. You can't hide from both at the same time, which is why we saw FaZe, why they lost, because when they were hiding from AVG, they got taken out by, who was it from the other side? Sunbird's team.
I want to say Blitz was
House of
up
Nobles.
north.
Well, yeah, House of
Oh,
Nobles and Blitz,
House of
both of
Nobles,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, they were taking shots from there, but then when they had to hide from there, they got taken out by AVG. It's just because of the nature of how this ridge around that bowl worked that for this particular instance, this is the one time that actually being in the city works out. Granted, it gives you a small window, which
That's
I
very
talked about earlier with
interesting. That's a
AVG,
very interesting
but
point.
it's the fact that you can't take control of the exits. You can't gatekeep this city in the same way that you can off all other cities.
I think that's a very important point that Cameron brings up. That is true. That's what stopped a lot of this, because normally, like, we talk about it all the time. Like, if you're in the city, you lose, and whoever wins outside wins in almost 100% of the situations. But
And
this
that
time,
circle too,
this
that
didn't happen.
fifth circle where it went south,
Yeah.
that never happens. That never happens. If that circle goes
Strange
north,
stuff.
phase or vitality comes out in top 5 of that 100%.
Very interesting. But game number 1 has ended, and it is time for game number 2. So we're going to kick it back over to our 2 in-game casters, WTF Moses and Dutch.
Hello, welcome back. This is game number 2. I am WTF Moses. I am here with Dan Dudge Sandal. Dan, that first game pitted one of the 2 best pairings of teams, Vitality and FaZe, right next to each other through the mid game. Nothing seemed to develop, and ultimately it was AVANGAR taking game number 1 in dominating fashion. 4 up, AWM, M24, sniping from the hilltops, the circle at their back. Game number 2. Do you think AVANGAR is going to be able to repeat here in game number 2? We don't often have repeat winners, PUBG Online, or really in any set of games. It is very difficult to do so, but we are going to get a fairly decent playing path here.
Well, when we do get those repeat offenders coming in and taking those chicken dinners, we do generally have something to talk about, because when the consistency is just that good, you know you've got something going right. Now, if there's one thing I want to see in this game, once again, it's going to be that silenced M24. I was just looking back at the broadcast. Ooh, baby, that sounded beautiful on that final push. But of course, as you mentioned, we are taking a look at this plane route at the second. It's going to be very west bearing this time round. So the far east of this circle will be closed off to the early droppers. We could be seeing some people picking up vehicles, however, and making a good rotation over there. But Georgia Pole are definitely still within the circle, and this is going to be... It has the potential to be an incredibly populated area, but lots of teams already dropping out early, with one team even going to military base.
Look at how FaZe is deciding to drop here. They're 100% split. They have 3 players headed to likely vehicle drops to head over to their home in the Mill to Power area, but Fuzzface, unless he is disconnected, but I see his icon moving around, so he's probably not disconnected, is actually dropping in Zarky with attacks. I don't know what's the game plan here, if this was intention. Oh, he's not moving his parachute.
He's just going for those AFK kills, baby. That's exactly what it is, you know? That's the...
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be it, though, to be honest.
I cannot tell if this is some sort of ploy, but I'm thinking likely not. That's a huge split, not something we normally see from FaZe. But attacks is going to Zarky, and... now you got to wonder, can Fuzz get back into the game in time, or is this some sort of bait? You can never be too sure with FaZe, but regardless, it looks like he is going to land a little bit further away, but he is taking some shots in his parachute. So I believe we might lose Fuzzface here early. Unfortunate start for a team that already had a tough ending to game number 1. Frost is not allowing him to get away. I can't see where he landed.
That's just brutal.
That's just mean right there. Yeah, unfortunate. So Fuzzface is out. Rip.
You got to get those early points. The early points do come.
That sucks for FaZe. Too bad. But oh my gosh, look at this circle.
That does not suck for attacks in the slightest. I mean, they already have Zarky available to them. Of course, one team over at Severny as well. That's going to be a huge injection of loot going into Team Blitz. Now, 2 teams that we have seen play incredibly well in our 2 games, or, well, our 1 game already today. So... these 2 cities going to be very impactful alongside Georgia Pole. Very similar circle to last time as well, but we'll have to see if our circle luck is going to be swinging in any different favors this time around. Of course, Vitality and the rest of FaZe still down by their standard Milta routes, sticking to everything that we already know. We do have teams already heading over to Yasnaya as well. That's going to be Gamers Origin. as they'll pick up a huge amount of loot coming out of those buildings. But looking around the rest of this, pretty much small compounds also going to be used here.
Yeah, now we see the standard play from a lot of these teams opting just to try and get to a spot, get some loot. Now we see again Gamers Origin getting to a place in Yasnaya all by themselves, able to grab an absolute ton of loot. They have 3 total minutes. Now it's about this first transition, Dan. This circle is not friendly. Most of the circle is in the water. Very few compounds available in this northern end of the map. We have the channel and the river in. We have the Northern Ocean in. Right now, it's all about Mad Ruski and company splitting out all these different compounds, trying to get that loot going. Severny also open. But I would imagine we will probably start to see some early transitions here from teams because there's just nothing available. And forcing that early scout is going to leave a lot of teams starved for loot in the early game.
One team also heading over to the shooting range, picking up some early weapons, so we could be seeing Pony Rider getting an early kill down onto Milkaz, who's just taking that scout roll, taking it to the next level, and he's going to be trying to find anything he can along this road. If he can get any shots on him, he can then feed back to his team the information where to not go in this game more than anything else. Of course, we could even see Ruins coming into play, but probably not going to be happening anytime soon, unfortunately. Milkaz still just using this vehicle, trying to find any scraps that are left over. And with a drop like this, very difficult to really get yourself going and amp yourself up for the later stages of the game. Only an AK in hand at the second.
So Meek actually just pulled up to a building that Mad Ruski was at just a moment ago. I'm not sure if it was happenstance or if Ruski happened to be a little bit further away, but he did evacuate the area before Meek's arrival. So I'm interested to know if they're considering this place safe, because he will be scouting. This is a nice compound to hold. The rest of... Oh, here comes Groobsy. Taking some fire. Barely making a pass. I think one shot landed. Meek is gearing off Groobsy and the scout from attacks, but elite player nearby as well. So early game trades here happening as the jockeying for position already starting here.
And when we do get to the later stages of this early circle game, we are going to be getting even further into the jockeying game, even further than meds being the only things that really define this factor. And when we see this, still teams looking for any loot that they can find, playing around the scraps, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to establish themselves. So we have to feel that if teams further out of this start to come into the circle, they will be able and have a chance to take those early firefights into this. CH, he's just going to be getting some nice Drift King points coming on there, but we're going to be seeing Grishka Power taking shots, but not anything too substantial at this moment in time, just as Uaz going incredibly low in this early stage of the game.
Yeah, you have to be very careful, as any shots will lead to you getting exploded there. There's no coming back from a vehicle explosion if you're in the driver's seat, so you're going to see how Grishka manages this position here. He's going to probably have to roll to a stop, just somewhere safe. He can't do any more driving. And already the first zone is filling up, and there is very little room to work with. Grishka actually finding a nice little natural spot, but now it's going to be a matter of his team coming to join him. Arkway nearby. Keen moving here, taking a look at AVANGAR, our winners from game number 1, holding on to a nice garage compound here. Just in the transition spot. This is more of a chokehold than anything else. But it looks like he does have some neighbors very nearby. That is going to be Vivictus Esports. Going to be looking down onto that building, probably licking their chops here. That is a nice compound to hold, and it looks like they want it.
If we can get some early game action into this already, we could be seeing one of these two teams picking up a huge amount of loot. Mururi, he's very keen to go for this one. You can already see it. The look in his eyes, he's looking for it, but he's not going to be pushing into this. Very good decision-making. He's definitely... Oh, no, they're going to stop moving towards this. The compound is being pushed by Team 16. Vivictus Esports already taking a couple of casualties into this one, as Keen just firing out of that window with the AK. Does take a few returning shots on this one, but his back is covered. He's going to be hearing one person coming up the steps, 2 people, and that is going to be a very easy cleanup in this one, as the DP is the thing to really pick that one up.
So Krabic is still there. That double press onto that compound was very intense. I thought Keen had that thing sewn up. He landed those 2 downs. He had his teammate nearby, but Kravik was just unable to manage that supporting fire. And now it is all Vega pushing out through the field. They are not willing to let Kravik go easily here. Senpai, Kripik also looking there. Looks like smoke's gonna come out, and so will the regular nades. And that is an absolute onslaught. Maruri, Tipik, Senpai, and the down, or actually just reloading Xeon in the background. A very decisive victory there. Still up and away from the action is the remaining teammates, but that is a nice pickup of a nice compound for Vega.
And very early game action coming into this. Even though we have 56 players currently available to us to spectate at the moment in time, still 16 teams within this game. Nobody is giving up that last place easily, and Gamers Origin starting to make their transition through alongside Snoopy and the rest of his pals. FaZe also making a late rotation. They have the vehicles, they have everything to work with, and Haxete looks like he's spinning out in the bottom there. A few shots coming down as these teams are starting to make the early game rotation, and Vampire having a fairly easy time of this one so far. Nobody from Team 6 will be taking any of those shots just yet, and Vampire, he'll get himself a nice Sunday drive on.
Yeah, nothing really to contest just yet. Now, we talked a bit about this in the last game. Now, with these harsh circles, I think it would be better for these late-breaking teams, Vitality, FaZe, to just come in on the edge. No need to try and crash middle. We see a lot of the, oh my gosh, this Kaz takes a tumble off the bike, and with no one around to support him, he will be taken out here, just picked apart by the Jackals, leaving a sad trail of meds behind him. Just, you know, nothing really to be done, just dropping his utility and calling it a day as he rolls over. Kaz taking a couple of shots on the bike. I think he blew a tire and then flipped off the motorcycle. I'm not sure if he bailed intentionally. Regardless, Drainus is going to come over and pick up the pieces, pick up that nice left loot. So AVANGAR getting a bit of a loot drop here. I'm not sure if he's aware of the drop loot. No, he isn't. So that was maybe calculated by Kaz to drop off the meds and the supplies there and not have them picked up. So even in death, it looks like Kaz will take one off of AVANGAR there. So going back to my previous point, we see here FaZe lurking into the zone just up by Severny. Jempty, the lead vehicle, spread out. Do you want to come in here and try and get just on the edge of the zone? Vitality having a smooth transition as well. But crashing middle with this first transition, likely not a good idea.
It's going to be very difficult to defend anything from center circle as well. The potential of teams surrounding you from every angle, making each and every peak, a calculated risk. Of course, Pony Rider going to be looking for FaZe Jempty at the second, as the M4 shot's not going to be ringing true this time around. Teams are definitely jockeying for this position, however, and how they choose to play this is going to be pivotal for how the rest of this game is going to play out. Vitality, on the other hand, to the flip side of your point, sticking very nice to the outside of the next circle. Is they've just got themselves a really nice position here. They have geographical cover. They have one angle completely covered off with no real consequence either. They have the vehicles should they need to make the escape, and it looks like out of all of the teams so far, these guys are definitely sitting pretty here.
So Vitality, definitely one of the most consistent teams in all of competitive PUBG, and we will luckily get most of the water adjusted out. Not too much movement required from those already held up in compounds in the current zone. But back to Vitality, they are fairly inactive through the early game, and for good reason. There's no need to be trading with 16 teams left in the lobby. You want to try and position yourself and maneuver to get to a point where you don't actually have to do much of the heavy lifting yourself. We saw AVANGAR using that to great effect last time around. FaZe having roughly the same idea, but just not the position to support it. And, you know, it's a matter of decision-making. And in Vitality's case, they often make the right one and find themselves more often than not in the top 5. So that's something that only the best teams can manage. But that means a bit of a quiet early game for them.
And a quiet early game is perfectly fine should you be playing for this position. Of course, the real thing that's going to be racking up any points within this tournament is going to be your placements within the game itself. If you're able to have that quiet early game and come into the mid game absolutely blazing, you will be having a grand old time in the scoreboards as well. Team number 2, Vega Squadron, starting to make their rotation over. Once again, another team with incredibly strong geographical cover. These hills surrounding them from every direction as they have an incredible dip here, a tree to work with, all vehicles to work with, and they can cover each and every angle as we're already seeing them start to establish their position on the map. Fairly central, but at the same time, they're gonna, not central, sorry, on the northwest side, but they're gonna be having a good old time of this one.
Looks like we will have one of our first engagements of this game. It looks like M19 is going to be poking out at the team across from them, just down to the south in the buildings nearby, towards the north, I should say. Gamers Origin nearby as well. It looks like Unconspicuous is kind of holding onto this tree, just kind of getting a little bit of angle there, taking down Constantine. Now the nade follow-up will come. He's got no immediate backup. I'm not sure where the rest of his team is lurking just yet, but it looks like he is well inclined to put some pressure on M19 here. Those nades not going to be able to make it over. An example will say, hey, that's enough out of you, and he will take him down. So Gamers Origin, not sure why Unconspicuous decided to take that fight without his team nearby to assist. The smoke grenades might be able to save him. Dan, you start a fight that early with no support, in your opinion.
Well, it's going to be difficult, especially if you don't have the support, nobody to make the trades, but Elastics, he's looking for the late elongated trades on this one. He did have the smoke in hand, but he decided to go for the firefight instead. These guys definitely playing with fire. They have been burnt so far, so they're going to have to take a back foot to this one. As Team 8, that is going to be M19 once again, going to be able to hold down this angle with the bunker position they already have. So smoke's coming down, and it looks like Unconspicuous will be picked up here by Elastics. Constantine also in a position where he's just been picked up now, so more valuable medical supplies having to be used at such an early stage in the game. We still have 16 teams available, yet these guys are really eager to push that down to 15.
So it looks like that trade not costing either team too much. We see attacks moving in on the edge of the zone. That new zone about to shift again. FaZe lurking on the edge. Vitality lurking on the edge. FaZe rotating down towards Vitality at that shooting range. Looks like they're going to opt to take that Severity Hill position is FaZe. So that's going to be a nice spot for them. Nice tactical spot. Nice maneuverability, but likely not to stay in for much longer as we have an AWM with the scope, military vest, and the adrenaline syringe. A nice pickup, but so far abandoned. The closest team is Great People Only, so if they can get over there, there's no one immediately to contest it, but maybe not something you want to risk at this stage of the game.
Very difficult to actually make that move over, considering other teams could also already be there. We're seeing Great People Only on your screens at the second, comprised of Helu, Kajuti, Sampula, and Koiran as well. These guys played 8 games and managed to pick 35th in our leaderboards. Not averaging too much in the points so far, but that loot injection could have given them any extra points. They have a nice spread out angle on such a pivotal crossroads. This is an angle where you can pick off teams from 3 different locations. You can play the gatekeeper, but of course they will not be in the next circle, so they will have to make a rotation as soon as they are able to do so. Of course, we do have teams already within the next circle, and we're seeing FaZe start to make their move as well, as Madrosky just taking a look around, see what he can find. Information key at this stage of the game.
Vitality is actually moving right towards FaZe right now. I'm not sure if we can go back to the map. It looks like they're going to run right into each other. Vitality right on top, coming towards FaZe, but FaZe already in transition, moving away. Hacks having to back off. It looks like Mixie is going to be the first one to engage. Shooting at Vitality, the transition already under pressure. It looks like Vitality made a right shift at the right time, but Jempty is ahead. He might come to a stop and try and put some pressure himself. Now Jempty receiving fire. Not sure if he has or not, but now Vitality driving right into Jempty. Jempty switching over, looking for Monkey. Monkey, again, able to get by. Vitality dipping and dodging here, just barely trying to get by, but Shiv will lose a tire. He will stop. Vitality is going to lose Shiv here. It looks like Mikas is going to pick him up. So now it's Jempty looking at those long-range shots, and now Hacks is taking down Araxi. So Vitality taking some early casualties here at the hands of both Vex Gaming and FaZe. So FaZe now looking to maybe regroup here as Mikas and the rest of Vex are going to drive a wedge between the two teams. Jempty continuing his scout. That is a tough couple of losses for Vitality, who have to stop outside the new zone, Dan.
Jempty scouting just right as well. Team 8 had already started to make their rotation over to where they heard the noise. But Jempty not staying there for too long, not overstaying his welcome and getting out of dodge as quickly as he can. Blade Buyer here of Team 10, Novus Ignis, going to be ripped off the back of his motorcycle as the rest of the team start to swarm on him now. And this is just going to be a very easy pickup. And that's a rotation not necessarily working out in the favor of House of Nobles here. The rest of FaZe now have also regrouped themselves. Gamers Origin also in a very good position to support one another as well. We do have the House of Nobles to their west. Oh my goodness! What is with the stunts today? Because that was a brutal. It's going to be Jempty picking up his kill. And he's probably going to be picking up that loot too.
Look, so the one thing that I think is much more common in games nowadays, especially with motorcycles, is the fact that players don't shoot at the player on the bike. They shoot at the tires, because once that front wheel goes, you're going, over the apple cart essentially. And really in Jempty's case, all he's got to do is disable that motorcycle. You lose the handling, and then the player is easy pickings, and he will easily grab that loot. So another pickup for Jempty. And the motorcycles are already deadly inherently, but having someone like Jempty shoot at your front tire and then take you off the bike is not fun. So we are getting that. Go ahead.
Having someone like Jempty just shooting at you in the first place is not going to be very good for your own health. We can leave it at that one, I think.
Yeah, no, I said this on Twitter yesterday that Jempty is the best fragger in the game. I think hands down. He's constantly picking up 6-7 kills on his own, powering an already high-powered team to the top of the leaderboard, as we see here. Unfortunately for Menix, unable to sneak into the zone. Snoopy there waiting for him. So we do have this next zone about to pop. This will kind of decide the pace of the rest of this game. 16 teams still up. FaZe in the zone. Vitality actually out of this zone, waiting to maybe see if there's going to be some trades around them. And we will be headed back to a very similar circle to what we saw in game number 1. North George in the zone. The hill around North George still in the zone. Dan, this is a very interesting thing. And this is something we've seen in the past, with circles almost repeating themselves. As we see Jempty jumping up towards X Gaming.
He's going to be jumping, trying to find as much information as he can. The rest of FaZe also headed in his direction. Team 3 on the outside here. We're not sure whether they are aware of FaZe moving in on their position. Currently, Vexed could be caught for a loop here. If he peeks
over.
The crest is going to be coming.
FaZe is not looking at them. They're looking the opposite direction, moving away. This could be disastrous for FaZe. Mikas must have spotted a little bit of movement. He can see them now. No sight on the AK, and the AK already unreliable. So maybe Vex Gaming at a bit of a disadvantage from a loot perspective, but not willing to engage just yet. That zone does not favor either team. Maybe inclined to just loot and get a better position before trying to take on FaZe. FaZe jumping into vehicles, having to use them late here. Meanwhile, we do have Victus Esports, having been active in the early game, still holding on to a nice little compound, and FaZe will receive fire first. Jempty having to break off. Mixie and Hacks doing the same, but they're going to run right into Gamers Origin. This might be disastrous again for FaZe, having to jump out and stop. They're going to pick up some cover here. Dan, are they going to be able to react? Gamers Origin, Victus, as well as Vex, all knowing their position now.
Well, if we look at this surround currently coming in onto the FaZe Clan location, we're probably going to be having a speedcast coming on anytime soon, because this could get absolutely nutty at any moment. We're just waiting for the first trigger finger to slip. And as soon as that happens, we will be having an all-out firefight starting this off. FaZe surrounded by Team 3 on the other side as well. That's Vexed Gaming making their move into the circle. Team 16 to their southeast. That's for Victus Esports, our very active early game players. And that's going to be Maxazor taken out of this game as Batulin just dropping down, trying to find what he can. He's taking shots from every which direction, but he's in the wheat fields and he's not picking anything today except a couple of bullets to his back. That's going to be him taken out of the game entirely. No cover coming in from the rest of his squad into this game.
So it looks like FaZe has actually started their engagement here, and it's going to be Gamers Origin first. Vitality also having tried to sneak into the zone, taking some damage here. Shadow taking down. I think he's the last man standing for Vitality. He's got nowhere to go. And Gamers Origin, I think that is the second. I'm not sure if they took out Vitality last game, But FaZe now engaging with Vivictus, trying to get out of this building. The circle closing around them. Managing fights on two fronts is FaZe. All three players still up. So now this is all about stressing the angles, and it looks like Jempty is taking care of the reverse angle with gamers, or sorry, with the pressed Vex Gaming. I am Larry, the last man standing. Jempty having to take this all on his own, putting the team on his back right now with Mixie and Hacks also supporting. Jempty just standing in the open, putting pressure down onto this building, not allowing any time and space for Vivictus to get out. Meanwhile, Gamers Origin already having a taste for blood, moving towards FaZe's location. They spot the vehicles, trying to disable Jempty, try to get the best player out of this game. But now Vex is held out of the zone, and I am Larry's taking damage. But FaZe is not out of the woods yet. They've done well so far. Can they manage yet another engagement as Gamers Origin is now pressing the attack?
FaZe showing incredible presence of mind so far. Jempty covering every which angle he can find. Hallow Sampai will be going down on the outside of this map. That's going to be Maruri on the other side as well. But Gamers Origin over to the northwest. They could be the next oppressors coming in on this. FaZe opting to take that split rotation once again as Unconspicuous pushing forward as he crests over the top of this lip. We could be seeing a couple of gunshots coming down, but no, he's just going to get himself over to the floor. The nade, it could be big.
Mixie is still receiving pressure from elsewhere. I think he's taken a few errant shots from Elastics. So right now, Gamers Origin is split out, but FaZe never stops moving. They are always rotating, always looking for the next best position. The calls constantly coming out to shift and move. Jempty heading down to the corpses. I don't think they were able to pick up some of the kills from Vivictus, having some stolen from them, but perhaps able to grab some loot. Hacks having to jump into a vehicle now as we move over to Bootless. Bootless taking down Mamino from AVANGAR. So right now it is Novus Ignis across the street from AVANGAR having held up this position. Jerpsy from Finstack also occupying the same apartment building. So AVANGAR not quite having the same success as they have in the first game. And off screen, it looks like Elastics has gone down to Mixie. So it looks like FaZe is still trying to manage this fight. They do have a seam here, but man, this is very active right now for FaZe.
Very much so, and only now have we just dropped down to 14 teams. So many teams still vying for this position. Every single team on this map recovering incredibly well to their players being taken out of the game. As we do start to see these pushes come through, the circle is going to be encroaching once again, retracting down and pushing these teams closer together. Team 10, that's going to be Novus Ignis, having to push out of one more building. Anuctive not able to land those shots this time around. He's under pressure himself. He has to keep this movement going. He has to keep that momentum, and he has to keep moving forwards here. He does have that silencer on there, so he can just try to mask himself for one moment. Bootler's going to be walking straight into the gunfire as he's going to be taken out of this game almost immediately. There's the finish coming down. That's going to be the peak onto another. Anuctive doing incredible work. Not able to secure the third just yet. Does get some spray down around that corner, but the health bar is flashing. He is dangerously low. He has to recover. He has to medicate right now.
So the Lin is the last man standing, I believe, for his team. The circle is pressing, and it looks like Jerpsy, now having given his position away, that tells Anuctive being the last man in his team, that he is not alone, and that has got to be unsettling. Jerpsy picking up the last kill onto the Lin, having no choice but to give his position away, and immediately see Anuctive like, what? Like, who is that? Like, so he's now 100% on caution here, but it looks like FaZe is going to have to engage here with multiple teams around them. We're seeing the replay here. We see Bootless go down and then Anuctive taking down Skogger, and so incredible there. And now we move over to FaZe. FaZe engaged here with Gamers Origin. Mixie taking some shots. Him going down. Xity finishing off Maruri. Jempty and Hack still available there. Gamers Origin still engaged. Still fighting with FaZe for position here. Having to pick up some more loot. Maybe a vest. Maybe some meds. Mixie, I believe, is lost to the world. He is too far out, and it looks like Gamers Origin will finish him off. So again, always moving, always reacting is FaZe. They're holding the angle. Maybe they can try and trade here. Not going to happen. Mixie will go out. So FaZe is clawing and scraping to stay in this game, having fought off 3 separate teams already, and Elastic having been rezzed. Gamers Origin is not out yet. Neither is FaZe. You can't count them out just yet. Dan, your Gamers Origin, do you go for the nades here, or do you try and spread out and press?
This is an incredibly difficult position. A third of our server is currently stretched around this east side of the circle. Every single one of these players under pressure as the circle does start to move in. They're on the fast side. The shots are starting to come down. Haxete is going to be taking Unconspicuous out of the vehicle. Phantom taken out of the game now as Gamers Origins starting to take their own casualties. Gemty also going to be spraying down the top of that hill. Does pick up Elastic's fantastic work, but he's given away his position. He's given away his life, and as he takes his last breath into this game, only one member of FaZe Clan, Haxete, 10th place so far, gonna have to move in, gonna have to keep this movement going and play the rest out as a solo player. 9 teams now left in contention for the chicken dinner as we're gonna be pressing around this hill, but Haxete, unbeknownst to him, going to be pushing into Great People Only, their 2-man unit currently available, currently ready to fire at any oncomers in their direction.
So quietly, we have Sunbird and the rest of his squad here holding this excellent position inside the new zone. One of the few, if the only team in the new zone. We have one solo player, I think, holding onto the edge as well. So now it's up to Hax to be able to try and ride this in. He's going to actually take down Helu. So Great People Only actually now taken down to 1 player remaining. Hack's going to have to potentially med here as he's not in the zone. I think he's out of time. I don't think he can beat this at all. He's going to have to stand up and run. There's just no way for him to get time and space. He can't med. He's got to try and finish a med kit or something here. It's going to drop right on top. And was he able to do so? No. So just rough go for FaZe there. They were engaged for the last, I would say, 10 minutes. Meanwhile, it is going to be Sunbird all by themselves holding on to this hill, looking down at Pony Rider, Mad Ruski, and the rest of his team. But lots of solos left here. So now it's going to be a bit of a snake battle.
11 players left alive, and we're shortly going to be going down to 10 as Pony Rider taken out of the game behind that hay bale. Botsman looking for the shots over onto these hay fields. The bale is in sight. He does have an idea on where the player is. He's medded up, he's kidded out of his mind, and he's looking for anything extra. Team 9, the House of Nobles, looking poised to take the rest of this game. 6 total kills as a team. Can they make the rest of the server? This could be the real question here, because 4 players left alive, keeping them in an incredible position, and meaning this is their game to win. That's a beautiful down, as Sampula going to be taken down with the headshot of Botsman's Car 98K into this game. Over on the right-hand side, though, Team 11, it's going to be Great People Only running into this gunfire. Pony Rider finally finished out. Kajuli under pressure now to relieve his teammate, get him back on his feet, get him back into the game. He has an AWM, but can he make anything of it with so many teams still in contention? Gunfire coming down on the other side of the circle as Venity is going to be in a solo battle versus the final remaining player of Attacks, who's going to be taken out of the game by Botsman once again.
That was precarious there. Venity actually driving that US down into the zone. Great People Only looks like they're going to go out here. I am Larry taken down, so it's now just Sampula by himself running towards Rustinmar. Venity spotting that little spot down by the rock. Not quite in the zone, having to reposition, but it was a precarious situation there, as it was going to be all of House of Nobles having to press over into the zone, but they wanted to clear that area out first, and they have done so. Sampula taking the pressure, Flicks putting down some bullets onto him, and that is going to be it. So it is going to be House of Nobles picking up not an easy win, but a cruise control win there in the end game with the best possible position. Went out with a total of 10 kills. Not bad, Dan. I like the way they played that end game position, but quietly came into that end game as we were looking at many engagements all along the edge of the zone. So we see here another top 5 vacant of FaZe and Vitality, as well as our first place team from last game, AVANGAR, going out as well. So I'm not seeing them in the top 5 either. So that's a bit of a shakeup here in game number 2.
Exactly, and just to draw up on one thing before we head this back over to the beautiful analyst desk. At the head of game 1, you asked me about the split strategy going into the later game as a full 4-man unit. This is 2 games in a row that the winning team has been decided by numbers and skill, but numbers being the one key thing to pick up on here, because 4 players left alive in each of these scenarios has really sealed the deal. It's so hard to face down against 2 players. We only saw it once during that game with the double kill coming out earlier on throughout the game. I think it was mid-game of game 2, but the 4-player unit is such a huge advantage, such a huge boon going into the later stages, especially when you are playing against so many solo players left within the game. When they are knockdowns, when they are instant kills, they are people out of your peripheral vision, they are people out of the game entirely, and they are the things which are really going to cement the win for you. But I've said enough. I think it's time for our desk to take over.
Absolutely. So that is game number 2. We see here House of Nobles taking the win. Let's kick it back over to the analyst desk. Jabroni, take it away.
Thank you very much, Moses and Dudge. And it is House of Nobles taking first place in game number 2. Huge day for them so far. Start the day off with a third, follow it up with a first. I mean, you cannot complain. You know, you got to get every point you possibly can whenever you can get it, and they're definitely making the plays today. So I think that was a very good job. Now, Poro, we saw the same zone, man.
We did.
Kind of.
What is
Roughly.
Almost the same zone? We were about
fake.
50 meters north.
You thought.
We got juked a little bit there. Now, once again, Poro, I'm going to go to you first here. Tell me a little bit. Just give me a little bit of the spiel
Thoughts?
on your thoughts on game number 2.
Thoughts. All right, I got thoughts. All right.
I got some thoughts.
I got some thoughts. So 2 games in now, you say, you know, we come into this game, we're like, oh my God, FaZe, Vitality, they're both in. Well, you know what? You hit FaZe and Vitality with Northwestern circles, all of a sudden they become average. And House of Nobles has now come in with a 3rd place finish and a 1st place finish, not quietly. They got 10 kills. They held great position. And you also had Wind and Rain again finishing in the top 5. You have Blitz again finishing in the top 5. Where FaZe and Vitality, they're in 7th. FaZe Vitality is the first team to get knocked out. You put a circle in that northwestern corner, you expose FaZe and Vitality for having that Milta, that lower southeastern looting pattern, and you're seeing kind of the one difficulty. But again, you rarely ever see these northwestern circles, and now we're seeing 2 in a row. So I do expect FaZe Vitality to come back once the circles start.
And that brings up a specific question that I have for Cameron. Okay,
Yeah,
Cameron.
okay. Yeah.
If you're FaZe and Vitality, obviously the northwestern zone. All right, it's a northwestern zone. It's the worst zone that could pretty much happen to you, right?
Yeah.
Is it their responsibility not to win those games? It's their responsibility to get whatever they can out of those games, and then they win their games that are closer to them, their games that they can dominate, they can get center, they can defend rather than attack? Is it one of those things where, you know, if it's a brutal zone, let's make everything we can out of it. If it's our zone, we're winning this game.
So I actually watching this and just kind of wondering why it's like, oh, we hyped up FaZe and Vitality so much, and even after these 2 games, I still consider them the 2 best teams in the world. But as watch them, like, what's going wrong with them? In this game, a large part of it for both teams was just the fact that the circle, not only was on the northwestern side, it kept swinging towards the west. And towards the west, towards the Zarki Peninsula. When you swing away from the center of the map as a whole, multiple circles in a row, it's understandable that would put the majority of the population still on the server on one edge, because just, you know, if you give like an average dispersion to every one of them move away, that's going to have all of them move from the same, more teams moving from one side to the next. That's just logic. It makes sense. But particularly in a Zarki circle, where very few teams, if any, ever go to Zarki, and if you're a team that doesn't, it's still difficult to get to that edge because you have to go through Georgiapol, you have to go through all those bridges that have to do there. And so, compared to other corners of Greater Erangel, that's still even then is still less populated than saying a Primorsk edge or a Stalber edge, or etc. And so when Vitality, when they were on that hill south of shooting range, they had a position to take over the entire game if it didn't go where it did. But it completely messed them up, and they had to drive through a number of teams. They were on a far edge. It's generally a position that they like to play at if it stayed central, but it didn't. And so because they had to drive through so many teams, that's just, Battlegrounds can be brutal in that aspect. And then FaZe, they like to move really fast. And so they able to get into central position, but they ended up driving in between multiple other teams that kind of got a little bit of a surround on them. And because there weren't that many compounds in this area of the map as a whole, they couldn't fight for a compound and fight for a position to hold better. And so they just ended up being in a shootout that we saw not just FaZe, a lot of other squads go down in that position, which is one reason why House of Nobles ended up winning this game, because they didn't have to deal with that fight on the eastern edge.
Okay. I mean, I agree with most of what you just said. I would like to stay away from FaZe and Vitality for a little bit moving forward for the rest of this test. House of Nobles, they're your winners of game number 2. Third place in game number 1, huge day coming out of them so far. They're definitely sitting in that number 1 spot right now, pretty handily. And I think, very importantly, we need to talk about their decision. They were holding down the south of the circle, just north of North Georgia Bowl, on that hill, or just past that hill that we spoke so much of in game number 1. Their decision there, they were in a pretty good centered location. They could have pushed a little further in if they wanted to, which would have been a risky play. But they made the decision to sit there and wait as the circle contracted, and then it popped, and then it contracted, and they were like, this is our position. And they waited for every single player to be cleared out of North Georgia Bowl before making any other movements. They chose their responsibility, and they took care of it. And it wasn't that many teams, but they understood that if we're going to hold the southern part of the zone, it's our responsibility to take these teams out, to take all these players that might be just kind of running around in North Georgia Bowl. They cannot get to the top of this hill. They cannot, I guess, put any strain on our chances to win this game. On top of that, you saw Botsman out there just popping heads left and right. Just, making plays, just boom, get out of my field. Get out of my field. And it was a fantastic job by them, and I think that they definitely deserve some serious praise for the way that they played that zone to their advantage, and it was a job well done. Now, I want to talk about the push coming out of Invictus, okay? Yeah. The first fight we saw in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a thing of beauty. Now, if either of you want to take it away on your opinions on the fight.
Yeah, I can run through it real quick.
It was a 4v2.
Hey. It was a 4v1, actually, because it was 2 solos from 2 separate teams.
Was it really?
Yeah, but nonetheless,
I think they were on the same team. I think they were on the same team. Just
I think they were both on Pro 100.
Yeah, they're
Pro 100 had already migrated up to the north, and we're holding down a ditch.
It's not about it being a 4v2. It's about it being beautifully done, and
it was very well
being a work of art. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's rare when you see a team attack a compound from multiple directions. And that's just because oftentimes a squad comes in from the same direction because they're usually coming in from the same spawn point. And the risk to doing the 1-2 punch that they did is that if you're any later into the game than they were, you're vulnerable to be getting spotted and shot from another squad from another position. And the reason why we don't see this that much is because in the early game, it's not really worth it to fight. But this is kind of the adjustment being made to how a lot of teams then send one person to hold a compound for the rest of the team to come up. The adjustment is that, we can recognize there's only one person. There's likely to be only one person. So this is actually a good fight to take. And so they caused distraction from one end. Sure, the player inside the building got a couple of drops. A very good job from him. But the other 2 from the backside,
Great shots.
Not even with the vehicle, just walked into the building quietly, completely undiscovered. And you saw the player in the top floor was completely caught off guard by anyone coming into his floor that wasn't his team. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of this. And what's curious now is if there's going to be a further adjustment from this whole strategy of having one person hold a compound.
Yes, and Poro, on that, does 16 teams affect this? Because I think it affects it a little bit, where I feel as though if there is one scout that goes in, and there's only 16 teams in the lobby, so that that's 16 less players. That's a lot less players. Moving forward, do you think we're going to see more of, shots are coming out. Why do I only hear an AK? And then just turn it and just gun it at this one solo player trying to hold down a compound?
Probably not. Probably. Okay. I mean, usually if you're a scout and you hear shots, you're just like, okay, that's where the shots are coming from. I want to avoid that place. You don't really think of it as a solo or a team. You just kind of keep going. But I do think that you're going to start seeing, I mean, we talked about it earlier, playing the edge right now with the 16 teams is kind of the way to go. If you try to go centralized with your scouts, they end up getting knocked out. So, and that's what you've seen from House of Nobles. House of Nobles never, I mean, they had plenty of opportunity to say, oh, well, we should probably leave this North George location and center up, but they didn't. They held it, and they held the edge, and they ended up coming home with the win. So that's why I don't think we should see people. I think we'll start seeing less people going towards center.
Okay, well, it is now time to get into game number 3. The lobby is up, it is ready, and they're about to take off. So let's kick it over to WTF Moses and Dudge for game 3.
Hello and welcome back. We are here in game number 3. That is a light switch, and we are about to switch this game on. The plane path about to reveal itself. Now, for all the talking that I have to call my own self out at this point, is that I've been talking about FaZe and Vitality all day, but they have not found their way into the top 5. It has been House of Nobles with the consistency. I did say it sneakily, but that's only due to the fact that they've been so steady in their execution that they've managed these placements and that last win almost effortlessly, or at least the way that's the way it looked to me. So we see here a bit of a different plane path cutting right across the middle of the map. Now it's House of Nobles with the nice placements in the first 2 games, but it's a new game here. It looks like we are going to have 4 strong for FaZe. Vitality also going to Milta. Favorable plane path for them. So we hopefully will be staying away from that Zarki area and maybe more central. So, Dan, what are you looking for here in game number 3?
A more amicable circle, to say the least. We've had 2 circles very similar, 2 games in a row. These guys are more than warmed up for that. I want to see it thrown up entirely. I want to see something central. Not necessarily a slower early game. I want to see these teams get more of a choice, more angles to approach a circle, because so far tonight we've seen games completely decided by just how many times, or how many teams there are, at least, on one side of a circle. If we can get a new zone, which is just going to be opening everything up and slowly dragging us into the middle, we are going to be coming out of this game kicking and screaming and wanting much, much more, because already it's starting to heat up. We've got the perfect plane route for it. We've got a fairly central one. We can see these guys just really going exactly where they'd like to. And this time around, we actually see 4 FaZe members as well. There's a better bonus to what we saw last time. But we are seeing one thing in particular. Over at Georgia Pole, some early shots on the southwest side.
So Georgia is going to be a bit of a hot spot here. We have favorites from game 1 and 2. Already down a player here. Looks like Vanity from House of Nobles is down in the hospital. Might have been victim to a bit of a fall bug or something. But regardless, he is down and now having to draw some support from his teammate. What happened to you, sir? Did you fall down the stairs? What happened? But
sad incident.
There's no, you know, hospitals are bad for putting up the slippery sign, you know, where the floors are wet. He probably just like cracked his head open on like the marble or something like that, just crawling around. But it looks like Flick's is going to come pick him up.
He does have some incredible shoes. Those blue high tops, absolutely deadly if you don't lace them up properly. I mean, that's one of the things you have to bear in mind. Safety first is going to be quite heavy going into this game, but Hospital 2 people, Southwest Georgia Pole 2 people as well. House of Nobles having themselves a very nice split to start this game off. They're going to be distributing loot very easily between themselves, but also picking up a lot for the individual players. Botsman on your screen, currently a man we saw going absolutely huge with a sniper rifle in last game. 3 shots, 3 headshots, 3 instant downs, and playing absolutely huge in his team's victory. We saw the leaderboards on the right-hand side of your screen just a little earlier, and they're not just slowly creeping up these leaderboards tonight. They are absolutely powering it up there so far. 587 points, and these guys just came out of nowhere. We're seeing the Hon in the chat, and these guys are definitely deserving it.
Well, I guess at this point we'll have to be paying some more attention to them and their abilities. We here have Vivictus sharing that southern Georgia area. It looks like they're going to be well inclined to just loot up. Have had the first zone pop. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. And we are going to be going to the military base. So the circle having all these teams on a string right now, bouncing them off the paddle. It is not going to be easy unless you are Finstack. Finstack is just happier than can be down in the military base. They do have a team over in Novo there as well, not too far away. So that'll be easy transition there. Now, it's going to be about this transition, like I just mentioned. Vitality and FaZe getting a little closer to each other, recognizing that they are going to have to rotate, but the rush isn't there. FaZe can grab a boat. Vitality can swim. The transition is open to get across to Novo, and still 2.5 minutes remaining in this loot phase. So we'll see. Now it's going to be the northern teams, your AVANGAR, all the other guys that have been easier transition to the mid game because of the northern zones, having to move north. House of Nobles, we'll see how they react to the pressure of not getting that first zone. Dan, are you moving early or are you coming in late like the analyst desk was talking about? Because it's just a matter of getting into the zone and allowing those centering teams to just battle with each other and poke away while you kind of sneak in through.
We have to be clear when we come into even taking a look or analyzing this game in particular. There is quite often a optimal way to play this game, but always there is going to be a flip side to that. Decision making being the key factor to all of these teams going forward. Making the decision how they're going to approach this circle will be absolutely huge, and that's probably what we're going to be seeing more of. The early teams will be able to get that earlier loot, earlier position in this case. If they're able to center, they get themselves a fantastic opportunity to hold themselves down for a very late stage in this game, and the elite player is also an elite rider on that motorcycle. No accidents this time around. Now, with the circle, we can...
I was going to say they're going to immediately switch it out and with the magic touch bring the Dacia to life, inflating the tires. They are going to disable the 3-seater, or actually... enhance its handling by disabling the third wheel.
Seat.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny how in the van on Miramar and
It's
the 3-seater, yeah, it's faster and it handles better when you shoot the tires off. I mean, that's balance right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly. Now, this is the downside to some of those early moves. That means early fights. We're already seeing a little bit of a poke battle starting to come up between Great People Only and one team inside that military base. Only poking so far, so not too many health supplies being used at this moment in time. Of course, on the screen, we have Great People Only of Team 11, but facing off against them will be Team 15, pro100, a team that's been very quiet so far this evening.
Yeah, pro100. Actually, I like this spot. We've seen this building held to nice effect. Now, looking at the way the circle is, ooh, I actually have looks like a team just snuck up behind him. Vega Squadron just appears out of nowhere. Did they not hear them? I don't know what's happening. Francario now jumping up, looking to trade and put some pressure on to Vega Squadron, but his teammate having gone down, they had no idea. And now Francario is just retreating back to his house. Nothing to be done. Francario not wanting to go down himself. So that was very quick there on the behalf of Vega Squadron to take out one of the players there. So Francario now just having to back off completely, and whatever their game plan was has now been dashed. Now we'll see here as this first zone begins to close in from very far away how teams are going to decide to transition. Looks like FaZe is going to swim across to Novo and make it in on foot. We see m19 driving across the bridge. I don't know if we'll see a bridge camp potential here from m19 because they are going to be holding a zone that is on the bridge and out of the blue. So we'll see what happens here. But ultimately, it's going to be a jockey for position that's going to be intense here, and the vehicles are moving down.
Definitely, and as much as we can meme it up about this circle a little bit, but we have to consider that these teams definitely playing into this, they have to prepare for anything and everything. The game is going to deal you a hand of cards, and you just have to play that as well as you can. Vitality not playing it too well at the second, as they're going to be running straight into an ambush, getting outside of their vehicles now as Elite Player deciding to reposition himself with the motorcycle. The rest of Vitality coming in for backup, but that's Shiv taking a lot of damage early on into this. He's going to be disabled for just a couple of moments. Can we be seeing the rest of the squad take any advantage of this? But that's going to be Vitality now on the front foot.
But Tulane—he's going to make it. Oh my God, he just barely sneaks through. I was wondering, m19 having split, they left one at the gas station. I think Batulan just didn't have enough time to make it with the rest of his team. So Elite Player and the rest of m19 are going to get down the bridge. Vitality getting a reprieve shortly. But now it's Batulan. Oh, he has a boat just waiting for him, like James Bond. He's going to jump out of the car, into the boat, and make it across. That is, wow, that is very timely boat placement. So luckily for Batulan, he will make it across to rejoin his team. And now it's all about m19 holding Vitality out of the zone. They're going to have to try and break a bridge camp open or completely adjust their strategy. m19 well positioned here, Dan.
Exactly, and almost a triathlon strategy coming through here. We have the bike, we have the boat, and there's going to be a little bit of running coming in there through, so let's call it the triathlon for now. Team 2 and Team 11 down on the southwest side are now in a full engagement between one another. Vampire Game, we can see him here. He has dropped quite a bit of health so far. Both teams, 4 members still left alive, and both teams not wanting to give any player the edge inside this game just at this early stage of the game. The early flanks coming through, and Vega Squadron, who we're just looking at, currently placed 20th in the standing, even though we've seen some absolutely incredible highlight moments coming through from them. Vampire Game being a complete standout player for myself. We've seen some pure clutch coming through from this man.
So I'm wondering if they've displaced, did we lose Francario as well, or did he have to run away? I can't imagine that pro100 was able to just run away from that building. I'm not seeing him on the minimap, so I'm going to assume that Francario has also been eliminated. So it looks like Vega is going to take up a nice little piece of real estate here. FaZe making landfall, Vitality having to swim, and now we will see, looks like that's going to be Vex Gaming taking the small group of buildings just at the western bridge there. So that is going to be a nice pickup there for them. Gamers Origin all in transition, Dan. It's now going to be about the poke battles. We see this all the time in the military base, the garage versus the wizard tower. And now it's going to be Vex Gaming coming across, looking for that nice pickup, and we'll see what the first zone change brings us.
Exactly, and in the game of resources, we have to see who's going to be playing it the best so far. Of course, limited shots that are available to you, limited med supplies. It's a trading game. Who's going to be trading ammunition and gunfire down onto opposing players for their medical supplies, whilst also being able to maintain that momentum going into the later stages of the game. Of course, if you're able to get a down coming in and out of this as well, that's going to mean the players later on in the game will be going down and bleeding out much quicker. On the north side here, we're going to be seeing Sipic running into a couple of people. He's in the vehicle. Gunshots, are they going to be coming down? Will we see them? No, he's free passage.
I don't know. I think they might have been waiting for the passage here. You're right that the buggy is a very easily manipulated vehicle. It looks like Senpai is going to fall off the back. Now, Sipic losing that tire. I was going to say, once the tire goes down, the buggy becomes absolutely unreliable. So that's going to be Sipic and Senpai going down here. And that's Vevictus, having made it decently in the last game, are going to be eliminated here by AVANGAR, lurking in the hills. And that is going to be a tough loss. So Vevictus, that's 2 down. I don't see if they have anyone transitioning nearby, but they will not be coming to join them. So Vevictus losing 2, and 2 already making it across, and actually tangled up now with Novus Ignis having made landfall, but having to press into Vevictus, who holds the compound. Nothing to be done. They're retreating back to the beach like sea turtles returning to the ocean. Bladebuyer and Skagern having no option there, but just go back to the beach and kind of chill right now.
Exactly, and we did see the circle coming into this one as well. We will be a little more landlocked for circle number 2. And going forward, this is going to give our teams less of an option. Of course, that's what the circles are there for. So as we take a look, these compounds on the entire island are now going to be opened up. But so many teams have just decided, you know what? I want the military base. The military base, of course, providing incredible cover for these teams, often cutting off multiple angles with the ability to set up incredible and deadly crossfires going forward. But we're seeing some of that crossfire coming through on the minimap so far, as Elite Player going to be taking some shots down onto N and Noel, not able to land any just yet as that US still in motion. The reload does come through, and that's going to be almost free passage as Team 2 Vega Squadron finding themselves an even better position than we saw them in earlier on today.
So I'm liking the positioning of M19 taking the bunker. That is kind of it's a very committed spot. That open facing front door does not allow a lot of maneuverability. They do have vehicles there to use. Constantine taken down, example there as well. So now they're looking back towards that factory. Are they going to be able to maintain this vehicle's tires long enough to be able to use it to transition? They have split between the 2 bunkers. So I like M19's choice here, but ultimately it's going to be Vega looking back at them through the factory. I do like, and we've seen this last week as well, where the barrels just off to our left here, as we take a look at Finstack split out amongst the barracks. That barrel spot seems to be one of the likely holds as we overview the entire left side of the military base. Barrels provide lots of maneuverability, and we will see a lot of these circles transition outside the military base. But right now, it's going to be up to FaZe to decide if they want to move closer into the play zone. And looks like they're going to opting not to take the hill. That's going to be Vitality's option. So FaZe moving in, but right now it's a lot of dispersion around these teams, Dan. So we'll see if Vega is going to be able to maintain this pressure, as they have probably the hardest spot to deal with right now.
These early game decisions starting to pay dividends for some teams. We're seeing the early movers pick themselves up incredible real estate, getting themselves on the property ladder, and they're going to be able to sell that off at a nice, cozy profit as they go into the later stage of the game. Team 16 here currently on your screen, lining up on the outside of the military base, those fences providing incredible cover from the outside, and also being able to set up a crossfire if any team does choose to come in. Of course, House of Nobles, our winning team from Game 2. They're not going to be moving in anytime soon, as once again, they have these fields, they have geographical cover, they have the trees, they have the hills, and they also have a few vehicles to work with here. Surrounded on multiple fronts, however, so this could get a little bit dicey for them, but they don't need to push anything just yet. One team overlooking them is Wind and Rain at the head of the show. They came in tonight in 7th place, but so far today, quite a quiet showing overall.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much action out of them, and I think they've been kind of at the mercy of some poor transitions. They're not able to really manage their movements, not on their own fault, but you know, it can be a cruel mistress trying to get around in this map with some of these teams you're facing down. They do have themselves a nice compound, but really we're looking down now at attacks, also in a decent spot along the coastline using the rocks to full effect. FaZe taking a decent amount of control along the south edge of the circle. We will see a transition here very shortly, but for now, it looks like we've kind of settled into what's going to be just a bit of a hold as this next circle is about to pop. So, Dan, we are going to see that thing come south. Now the coast is going to be a huge grab. You can already see FaZe mounting up, likely headed to that compound. Moving over to Skagur now. It looks like he is going to take Keen down. So that's AVANGAR and Novus Ignis battling here.
And no team is wanting to go into this game quietly so far. Lots of gunfire already coming through. And that's going to be another kill for a loot crate. I believe that's already been looted, unfortunately, as Bootless is going to be running away. I'm sure he found a little bit more than boots inside that crate. Has a level 3 backpack on him, so maybe that crate came down a little bit earlier, as he's only got the M19 and AK, and that would probably be the most disappointing crate in the entire game if that was actually the case.
The fanciest backpack in the game, though, Dan. You can't fault a man for style points, and that's what he has probably gained. And oh my God, look at this transition. No, we already see it looks like a few teams are already making their way through the field. And that's going to be great people only jumping into the plains early. They do have the remnants of Invictus there waiting for them. The 8X on the Scar, ready to take some shots. Helu not poking out just yet. Korin a little bit further away. I'm not sure if he's spotted out Invictus just yet, but this transition is coming in hot and heavy. FaZe moving down to take one of the best spots in the new zone. And now it is going to be Invictus shooting at Korin Pasca. So, Dan, this is going to be a very intense transition. Looking actually at Vega Squadron, also engaged with Finstack.
Already coming through.
Ooh,
not quite.
Well
the
placed,
nades very well placed, and Jerpsy has been taken down inside this one. We can see there are 3-man units so far, with Timmy Z being the only effective player currently alive. Vampire Game going to be pushing around to his left. He's going to be finding that spray, but that's Timmy Z on the receiving end and able to pull it out of nowhere. Maxazor will be finishing him off, however, as Vega Squadron keep all 4 players left alive and manage to wipe themselves as squad. So that is our 16th place team already going to be established into this game, as Finstack just didn't really know what they were getting into on that one and paying the price. Arkway trying to take a few shots, going fishing for his own dinner, but nothing coming out of it just yet. Very difficult to do with those iron sights in hand, but seeing more rotations come through now. As Constantin is going to just be moving up and pushing his team, team number 8 here, forward. They will be walking into Game 2's winners here. Hon could be getting into a deadly firefight soon. We're already seeing one player go down. Constantin pushes forward. He does see Sunbird, pulls out the rifle. He's going to be taking some early shots in that one. That's beautiful work as Sunbird, first person to go down. Botsman able to find himself behind cover. M19 have the advantage. They have the spread. They have the layout. They're going to be taking some ties. They're going to be taking some kills as Sunbird.
Wow.
Botsman, the rest of the squad now dead.
That was very decisive. So our third place and first place team from game 1 and 2 have been eliminated in 14th place, I believe, as we do see more kills coming out here. It looks like FaZe has picked up 1 or 2 of their own. Vitality engaged on the edge of the zone with gamers only. Moving over to Vitality, they're actually receiving fire from both attacks and Vitality. The smoke coming out now. Monkey having to find a retreat here potentially. Give himself some cover. Gamers Origin not in the zone, being held out. Vitality looks like Shiv is going to pick up a kill onto Elastics. Phantom moved out to the left, trying to get away from this pressing zone. It will start doing some damage here. They have no option but to move right into the fire of Vitality as well as attacks. Vitality actually covered by the hills, so attacks won't have line of sight onto them. And now Gamers Origin is in dire straits here. Phantom having to run down the low side of this hill all by himself. Not necessarily abandoning his teammates, but nothing he can really do to get a position in this new zone. He will be joined by Maydai, and that's going to be a tough entry into the zone, but surviving is Gamers Origin.
Exactly, and even going forward as a duo is going to be much better than going forward as a solo. And that's going to be my John Madden moment for this evening, as taking a look at Team 15. Team 15 down on the south side, able to get a few shots over onto FaZe, as we are seeing some teams start to pick up those islands on the outside, but attacks starting to mount their own offensive here as they push towards FaZe. FaZe have a nice quiet compound. They've found that real estate and they've been able to hold it so far. 12th place coming into this one, going up against some of the heaviest hitters in the industry so far. As MXEY and Fuzzface deciding, you know what, we're going to go for that rotation, prioritizing the movement first. They're going to be going up against a Nuctive very soon on the other side of these rocks. Any choice shots could be landing here, and they are going to be going straight down onto a Nuctive, not able to trade that one out. Does take a hit to his own chest. Hitting the shoulder is going to be pretty hefty as he's throwing out some smokes to cover his own exits.
Actually throwing out a couple of nades as well. You know, he's got to puff himself up like a peacock, make himself look bigger than he actually is, try and keep FaZe away from him. But FaZe is not phased whatsoever. They are going to come across the smoke, potentially. I don't know if they want to breach through the smoke, but they are not one to leave a team nearby. They are always looking to press a team fight. They are not going to allow a Nuctive to posture into this fight. So it looks like we do have a team chilling on the islands just beneath them. And it looks like that's Blitz starting their own island nation just in the rocks here. All of the team is alive. They're just kind of chilling on this sandbar area. Pony Rider has found himself a spot just in the water transition. They are trying to get onto the beach / rocks there. It looks like they ran aground and are now going to have to transition on this tough spot. Suzy, looking at Arkway and Krabik. So now it's going to be a matter of trying to make landfall here. It looks like Vitality also engaged. They're actually swamped all of a sudden. It's M19 all on top of them. And it looks like we have a trade here. Vitality's still in this game. M19, Dan, high power teams going at each other.
Vitality do have themselves some natural cover on this cliffside. They're going to be peeking over the top of that precipice. Monkey's going to be taken down, as that's Vitality losing 2 members so far. Effective number 2, as Phantom also going to be caught in rotation here. Beautiful shots coming through from Araxe. Phantom taken out of the game. Beautiful work and excellently placed shots. This guy knows where his crosshairs are. Elite player going to be wrapping around the side, though. They're looking for blood. They're looking for Vitality, but Vitality not going to be showing any vital signs after this push. Constantin does get taken down on the backside of this. Shiv does get the return kill backwards. Shadow and Shiv, very effective work. Excellent dispatching there of team number 11.
And it looks like they might not be able to trade that. The pressure mounting too much. They're going to have to back away from their teammate. Meanwhile, FaZe also engaged here. Looks like Attacks has moved all the way on top of them. FaZe caught out here. It looks like Jempty and Mixie are the last man standing. I don't know if they have a third teammate with them. No, it is only Jempty and Mixie. It looks like Fuzz, Face, and Hacks were flanked by Attacks. And now the nade landing true. So now it's going to be Kagod versus Mixie. For Kygod. Mixie and Jempty here. Another nade prime. Looks like it might bounce true again. Landing a little closer. And lands right on top of them. Touchdown. Kygod going down. So FaZe returning in kind. Attack still 2 up, however. Kygod is down, but it's going to be Lixern. Maybe looking to play spoiler here. He's held up against this tree. Mixie and Jempty now moving to finish attacks. The shots come out that now has cued Lixern to look towards that area. He's got the red dot prime. He's going to peek out. Mixie in the open, landing, but nothing hitting. Jempty returning immediate fire. Lixern not one to be taken lightly, but now Mixie's on his flank, and that's going to be it. Mixie comes down and finishes Lixern. So attacks is eliminated in 9th place. FaZe losing 2 players to that flank, but are still in this game, and they have a transition ahead of them that is not going to be nice. Meanwhile, we have Wind and Rain holding probably the best possible position in the compound, with the Island Nation of Blitz trying to maintain, trying to make landfall still, Dan.
Very calm play coming through there from FaZe, able to take stock of the situation, quickly return fire, and quickly get themselves in an advantageous position. Team 2 on your screen, a Vega Squadron. They're caught out in the fields. They're using smokes to mask their own movements, but they'll be going straight into Team 4. Wind and Rain with that compound, able to land so many of these shots, but Rodolph not able to play the brick wall that these guys will crash into. They're going to be able to get into the compound very soon. Oh no, they're not! That's the wire mesh fence going through. Rodolph just turning around. Closes that door behind him. Safety first, kids, as that's going to be Max's or taken down very low. Enanol and Vampire Game incredibly low inside this push as well. Enanol, he's hearing shots in every which direction. He needs to find an entrance to this compound. Otherwise, this is game, set, and match for them. Max's or taken down as CHZ. Beautiful shots raining true.
So it looks, I'm not sure if that might have been a potential team kill. I'm not sure if that was intentional. I saw one guy go down to a vehicle explosion. Regardless, no, it wasn't. That was Radulov hitting that shot there. So it looks like Vega on the defensive, having made that transition fairly well, have now gone down to 1 remaining player alive. Now it's going to be all up to Wind and Rain to maintain control of this compound. It looks like Rodolph are going to move across here, peeking out, the pre-fire coming, the window bars, saving a few shots, but that's going to be Vega going down here to Wind and Rain. Meanwhile, we have Vitality holding an open position. We also have Blitz here. Jempty and Mixie are spread out for FaZe. And now it's going to be another battle. Arcway taking down Pony Rider. And now it's going to be a race against the zone. Just barely creeping in are they. Arcway looking up the hill, looking for Susie. He spots the head, takes some shots, unable to land. Will he return in kind? Almost taking him down. The pressure mounting. More shots coming, not landing. Now it's going to be Arcway.
Ooh.
Managing to actually get maybe a kill steal there. I think he took one away from Krabik. Krabik landing some shots, but Ruski is there as well. No, Krabik is his teammate, so that's all going to the correct team. So now FaZe is 2 up. Wind and Rain, I believe, is 4 up. And now we have Vitality with a Shiv and Shadow holding on to Smokes and a Dacia. Very precarious position for them. Wind and Rain looks to be in the best position here to potentially win this game, but nothing is settled yet, Dan.
And the Kingdom of Blitz going to be coming through to a pretty early end there, as half of the members of the team are going to be taken out in that engagement. Look at all of this open field now. Next to nothing to work with. This is Vitality just crouching behind that rock. Sorry, proning behind that rock. They have no room to work with, and space to play with at this stage in the game is absolutely crucial coming forward. Team 4 here, Wind and Rain, with such a huge compound position. Once again, bear in mind our first 2 games were won by teams who had all 4 players remaining at the end of the game. Wind and Rain currently fitting in with that trend, and all they have to do now is finish it, as only 7 players remain in their way, and Kaz is looking to make that 6 as he's taking shots down onto Arcway. Arcway going down onto the floor very early into this. He's zigzagging as much as he can, and Kaz getting frustrated enough to let Rodolph take that kill in the end.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dodgeball game out there. The long-range 5.56 is not as reliable as it used to be, but when you have 4 guns pointed at one guy, it can be as reliable as you want. So now it's going to be all up to Krabik to try and crawl his way into this zone. There's 0 room to maneuver, if we're being honest with each other. Krabic have very little, having no choice but to stand up and run now. We see Mad Ruski go down in 5th place, and now it's all up to Krabic to try and get to the smoke, just trying to get anything. He's going to use it to prevent line of sight onto his position, but there is nowhere to go after that. The tree, the next best spot. Mixie and Jempty still up. Jempty holding Shadow and Shiv at the vehicle there, but it looks like Jempty will take some fire. Now the smoke is beginning to dissipate, as is Krabic's chances to get further into the zone. The shots ring out further. Now the calls come out, and Krabic diving and dodging will make it to the tree. Jempty will be finished, and so is Krabic. So now it's a team of 3. FaZe will get at minimum a 3rd place finish here. Mixie having a spot against this vehicle and natural cover and in the zone. We'll see who gets favored here next, Dan.
Wind and Rain playing very well this evening. Quiet, but still finishing 5th and 3rd so far. We have to expect they will be taking a 1st place finish at the end of this game as well. Kaz just looking out from every angle he can find. They are aware that there are 3 players left aside from them. They're starting to make their move now, and this rotation could be crucial if they do choke it out a little bit here. They're still going to take a very nice finish, but it's not going to be the chicken dinner. They are very much deserving at the second. They've found Vitality. They're looking for these shots, and Kaz just moving that mobile cover as forward as he can to secure his team any chance they can for the later stage of this game. And oh my goodness, already some shots starting to rain down. Shooting at this point from the back foot is going to be deadly, giving away your position. Kaz will not be taking too much, but he's taken down as Shiv able to find him underneath that Dacia there. Beautiful work as Shadow now also on the aggressive, trying to find MXEY and secure themselves a 2nd place at the very least.
Mixie needs to hold on to this for as long as he can, because really they are equal distance from the new safe zone. And even though Kaz has gone down, Wind and Rain is transitioning again. And it looks like Wind and Rain, having lost a player already to Mixie, are going to receive more pressure. Shiv and Shadow will have time and space to move here. If they can hit some moving... Oh, God. Well, disregard. So Shadow has gone down. Now the res is going to have to come out, and Shiv taking more pressure. Vitality here now in dire straits, having to hopefully hit some shots there. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. The res is going to have to happen right now. That nade is going to be, well, I mean, that's going to blow up in the field.
Optimistic.
But good effort. Yeah, very optimistic. So it looks like just the pressure of the nades is going to be the name of the game. Wind and Rain goes back to 4 up. Shadow is finished. Shiv now. It's a battle for 2nd place. Mixie taking zone damage. The foot shot landing. Will Mixie be able to land a 2nd place? He will. So Mixie barely holding on, and now he's going 4 up against a full Wind and Rain squad, and that is going to be it. Wind and Rain will cruise on the back of positioning and prowess into 1st place. So that is going to be a nice 1st place finish for Wind and Rain. FaZe picking up a 2nd place finish. Vitality in 3rd. And this is a top 5 that we are more used to seeing. Dan, key victory point for Wind and Rain there definitely has to be that compound hold through the end game.
Exactly, and securing 5th, 3rd, and 1st so far this evening. We didn't get to see our winners from Game 2, House of Nobles, coming through into, or doing too much in this game, but very unfortunate for them finishing in 15th. But consistency for Wind and Rain, absolutely key here. So far, very good finishes overall. That's going to be propelling them up the leaderboards so far, and they are playing for it absolutely incredibly. FaZe and Vitality, of course, also are making it to the final circles. We'll have to see if they're able to pick it up for Game 4 as well. But honestly, I cannot wait to hear what Jabroni and the boys are going to be saying about this one.
Absolutely. So that is the end of game number 3. Again, Wind and Rain taking it. FaZe taking 2nd, Vitality in 3rd. And now we will kick it back over to the analyst desk, Jabroni and company. We will see you in game number 4.
A 7-6-2 round to the face of Shadow coming out of Cheese Doodles to cap off the Wind and Rain victory in game number 3. Huge day so far for Wind and Rain. A 5th, a 3rd, and a 1st. I think they have overcome House of Nobles, finishing up in 15th that last game, and reclaimed the day for themselves so far. One more game to go, and, you know,
FaZe in second, Vitality in third. All is right in the world, guys. Everything is, you know, feeling how it should, right? If I'm not mistaken, we're not up in the Northwest over by North Georgia Pole. You know, they're placing top 5. I'm happy. Everything feels normal, right, Cammy?
More or less. The one big problem is when you get, I mean, we're 3 games in, and every single game has been an edge circle, and by that I don't mean like one that the playstyle edge. I'm talking about just like the edge of the map. Yeah, and the reason why it's unfortunate to see so many of them in one series is because in circles like that, you don't get to see as much gun action. It's a lot more about, oh, gee, I really got to get this position, rather than, okay, how do we control this position? And Wind and Rain, though, coming out in first, you cannot, like, the fact that they had that compound in the end, I'm done sleeping on Wind and Rain. I kind of underplayed their performance last week, saying that they were more of the middle of the pack team, just because that's what we were used to seeing near the end of 2017. But they had a good week last week, and they showed that they can have a good week again. And so consistency is the thing in Battlegrounds, no matter where the circle is, and they're putting up a really good performance 2 weeks in a row. And this time around, you can't even argue that it's only because they had the compound, because they actually had to fight against multiple squads to keep that compound to have such a good fighting chance at the very end. So definitely just a good performance coming out by them. Even though FaZe and Vitality, we did see them finally show up in this game. We did see them actually able to get themselves into some fights rather than getting caught out in transitions. But nonetheless, it is still unfortunate, though, to see not too many circles in this series be in the center of the map.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Wind and Rain with 13 kills this last game.
Yes.
And I do think, you know, FaZe and Vitality both overcame, you know, a lot of combat, a lot of fighting, a lot of serious conflict in this round. Poro? Thoughts?
Thoughts? Thoughts. I got thoughts for days, my dude. So another interesting thing to notice about Wind and Rain, right? So again, top 5s all the way around, all 3 games so far. You know, with the win in this last game. Interesting to note, last week, all 4 games they dropped Zarky. This week they're now doing the Southwest split drop strategy. So it's impressive to me that they're changing up their initial looting strategy from last week to this week, and they're still performing at this high level. Usually you expect a little bit of adjustment time to changing up a strategy like that, to just how you approach things. And to be honest, if Wind and Rain had been dropping in Zarky still for the first 2 games, they might have won. So who knows? But another team that we can't sleep on either today, Blitz, with their own independent island nation, have now come in the top 5 all 3 games as well. So they finished 4th with 5 kills in game 1, 4th in game 2 with 2 kills, and then 5th this game with 0 kills from the island, the peaceful island nation of Blitz. So, you know, there's definitely some teams that are starting to really stand out from week to week as being high performing teams. And looking forward, once we start to get into Split 2, this is the kind of stuff that we're really looking for. This is kind of consistency.
Now, for Wind and Rain here, is the thought process the research? Because you do mention they were dropping Prim over and over again. Now they're dropping Southwest.
Zarky.
Zarky. I'm sorry. I don't know. Zarky. Yes, thank you.
Which is it's
even better.
Yeah. Like nobody expects people to drop Zarky. That's why it's stuck out so much.
They dropped Zarky all 4 games in week 2. Week 3 they switched that up. Could that be an attest to their research that they're putting in on who they're playing? These are rolling lobbies and they change every single time. And you know, I could picture Cheese Doodles and Rodolph and the rest of Wind and Rain sitting there with a little, you know, Orangel map marking where they think everybody's going to go and coming up with their own. And I think that that research and putting that in, that's the next level stuff. That's what gets you past. That's where you overcome the adversity that you're put in with these randomized lobbies and these completely different game sets every single week of PUBG Online. So you know, I'm on to you, Cheese Doodles. I know you're sitting there, you know, you got Microsoft Paint out, you know, you're sitting there drawing Vitality. Yeah, that's what I see him doing.
Shooting the feetsies of his enemies.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, shoot him in the toes. Do what works. Military Circle, Poro. Now, Wind and Rain was the first team there. Like they were, the circle had not contracted, and they're chilling in that compound. Like all 4 of them, not 1 or 2, not a scout. They are full 4-man in that compound. Is that early trip on a military zone specifically? I don't want to say for any zone, but on a military zone specifically, is that a necessity if you really want some top tier real estate and you want to come away with a win?
You know, I do think that when you get that military island, having that positioning is obviously, huge. It's a lot harder to come in late into military than it is to start off, transition early into military and find loot once you get there, I think. But I don't know. I'm going to leave it to Cammy. Cammy, what do you think? I'm transitioning over.
I like it.
Transitioning into military base is an interesting mixed bag. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the teams and how they played the early game in this one, you can see that. How we had a lot of teams come in late. It's the general idea of, if we're not going to get there first, then we're not even going to try and fight for some prime real estate.
If you don't get there first, just go last type of thing.
Exactly.
Like that way we're not in the middle. Yeah.
Exactly. And we're seeing a lot more teams do that specifically for military bases because dealing with the bridge is so awkward. And like it's just such an awkward thing to have to deal with, the transitioning to military base. We see a lot of teams come in later and later, and it used to be a couple of months ago maybe 2 or 3 teams come in late, 2 or 3 still be looting when the blue closes in on them. I think I saw 4 or 5 this game. At varying distances from the zone, but nonetheless, teams that they're already going to take a loss on positioning when it comes to military base unless you're looting it, and that's your drop point. And so you see a lot of teams come in late, but Wind and Rain, whether they recognize that or whether they had some early loot or whether they just really wanted that compound, they came in really early, and they did. You can't avoid the concept of chance when it comes to battlegrounds. They did get a little bit lucky, if you want to use a loaded term, on it ending, that compound staying in the game for so long into it, because that particular compound doesn't necessarily stay into the game for too long often. But nonetheless, they still, even if that went out of the zone in like the 3rd and 4th circle, that would still be a really strong compound because it gives them a lot of vision over the center of military base. They don't have to worry about their backside nearly as much. And so that is a very strong compound that they were able to recognize, and don't know if it's something that other teams are going to start to pick up on. I think it really is more just a personal decision by them. Okay. Wind and Rain, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we are. Oh, I'm sorry, Poro. We're about to get into the last game, and here is the question, Poro. The question is for you. Does anyone overcome Wind and Rain and take first overall today?
Overall today, House of Nobles had the closest.
House of Nobles phase is pretty close, and that's pretty much it. And then maybe Blitz. Maybe Blitz. I'm sorry.
Blitz. I think Blitz probably has the best shot if Blitz can put together something magical in this last game. Like I said, still top 5 finishes, but very low kill count. They need to kind of get involved a little bit earlier, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it is now time for our final game of EU today. Remember, we will be live again at 7 p.m. Central for NA later tonight. But Game 4 is upon us, so let's kick it right into the lobby with WTF Moses and Dudge.
Hello and welcome back to the final game. Game number 4. I am here with Dan, Dudge, Sandal. We've had some very excellent action so far. We've seen Wind and Rain take a game. We've seen House of Nobles play very well. FaZe and Vitality returning to the top 5, and we will be returning to a center lane path coming right to left, right down the center. Looks like we will have lots of options for teams to drop where they please, Dan. Looking into this final game, any breakouts, any consistency, who is going to be your pick for this game?
I want to see FaZe pull it out. I really do. Just to be able to come back in after being away for so long, having their Korean games, playing with a bit of lag, and, not having the best of consistency coming into this week. Now they are in top form. And Game 2, they showed that they can definitely pull it out once again. So if we're able to see them come forward and take number 1 for today, I'm going to be very happy. But of course, the biggest thing that surprised me this evening, I just tweeted out about this as well, the level of execution that we've had from all of these teams so far has been absolutely sublime. It's been a cut above everything we've seen so far this season. It's been so clean, and each and every winning team so far has done it in such dominating fashion. So that's what I'm looking for. The teams in the later stages of the game that still have 4 players left alive, these teams are definitely proving that they can do something absolutely miraculous here. And, well, we're already going to be seeing 2 teams going up to Severny, so let's get some early gunfights.
Absolutely. So we see Severny being a choice here. Susie, Mad Ruski, Pony Rider, Blitz, all heading to Severny. Looks like they are going to be contested. Now, we do see this in the past. Vega Squadron having a decent last game, but choosing to potentially hot drop right on top of Blitz. Not sure if they're here looking for vehicles, but it looks like Blitz is going to be the first ones down. The hot drop coming in real hot as they are landing at the diner and the restaurant building area. They're going to try and take that northern end of Severny all to their own, but Menix and Susie see them landing, calling out to their teammates. M16 in hand for Menix already. Pony Rider nearby. So it looks like they're going to maybe try and get an early game poke here happening. Snoopy K seen on the right hand of your screen in the diner. And a Noel also moving around. Looks like they are not going to allow them to get any spots for themselves here. The nade coming out into the diner, and Noel actually having to bail on that nade is Minox. Dan, is this a hot drop situation, or is this just 2 teams battling for position?
This is definitely a very heavy contestation coming out early. Menox is already going in for this one, taking gunfire down onto a Vampire game. Not able to land too many shots, however, but Vampire forced into a deadly position as Menox will be the person to close that one out. He's not taking any chances. He wants to close this kill as soon as possible. Menox, of course, not only does he have a snazzy haircut, he has an incredibly good aim on this one. And Vampire game going to be taken out of this way before his time was due. Rest in peace, brother, as Snoopy going to be looking to get any return here he can, but if they're able to return onto this 4-man team, this is going to be quite a large mistake coming out of Team 7, Team Blitz here.
We see this time and time again with 2 squads getting tangled up with each other well into the early game, not able to loot, not able to really focus on what they should be doing, which is preparing themselves for the upcoming transition. And transition they will have to as we look at the first circle. It has popped. It is a nice and centered circle. No more shenanigans. It only took 4 games to get here. Max Azor now leaving some pressure. Blitz there. He does have a teammate with him. Pony Rider actually moving all the way out along a flank here, so he might be able to get around. But for now, Vega and Blitz tied up with each other, doing damage to each other, even though it might not be physical. They are preventing each other from getting any sort of flow to their loot. But taking a look at the map now, we will see how the other teams have fared. It looks like FaZe has held up well inside of Milta. We do see some teams also up near the Kameshki area split around Stalber, North and South George occupied. And we have Wind and Rain well entrenched in the if I do say so, Tempo Strat split around the Gatka area, looting all by themselves. So now it's going to be a matter of, it looks like Gray People Only holding on to Pachinki, well centered in the zone. And M19 also in the Razaki area, centered in the zone. So now the transition starting. If you're these teams outside down, are you looking for compounds, or are you looking to come in on the edge here?
With a central circle like this, you can take, oh my goodness, you can take a little bit extra time to actually get that loot up, but we are going to be having some more hot action. It's going to get steamy here over in Severny as we still have the Vega Squadron facing off against Team Blitz. Vega Squadron a little bit better equipped this time around. Noel able to pick one kill up there. Menox with such a different position, able to take his opponent off guard, able to secure a very good kill, but he doesn't spot the player on top of the roof there. Menox tagged dangerously low. We can see he has no meds available to him at this moment in time. He has to find something. He has to sustain himself because Snoopy is on the offensive now. He knows exactly where he needs to go. He knows there was blood splatter, and he knows he has the tempo for this play. He's just got to find the player, find the shots, and then this could go all on its head.
And Brewski, having been spotted, he has knocked, actually Max Azor is down just outside him, so this battle will continue. Blows being traded on both sides. Menix very low in health. He's got no meds, level 1 vest, level 1 helmet, and then iron-sighted M16, and he is battling for his life right now. Looking like he's going to try and get over to try and get a res now, because that's imperative for them to stay in this game. Mad Ruski will be taken down, so Snoopy and now Pony Rider trading as well. This is an absolute brawl here in Severny. No one is coming out unscathed. Pony Rider have taken damage already. Snoopy also. Now the last man standing on his team, Ruski down. This is a situation where really nobody wins.
Exactly. Well, Snoopy, the only remaining player of his team so far. So this could be one big thing going through. Pony Rider just having his bum spotted out there, and he's not going to have a bum left after that one, because Snoopy just able to hold this position up here. And with that, he's able to find and secure so many downs going forward. On the back foot is still Susie and Menix, both incredibly low health, going up against the M4 of Snoopy, which has already proved to be so deadly going forwards.
He could
Very
win
low
this.
health.
He could win it. If he gets it down onto Susie in transition here, they know where he's at. He missed the crossing. He didn't see Susie come across. He might miss Menix too. He spots Menix. He knows that someone's got across. So now it's a matter of, what does he do? Does he press? There's 2 people down. He jumps out the window. He might be looking here. Be trying to just retreat. Is Snoopy going to look for the kill, or is he going to look to try and stay in this game? And it looks like Snoopy is going to back off, or at least try and reposition. And he is going to escape. He's going to allow Blitz to get all 4 reses up. The circle has started moving. If he can maybe play the absolute saboteur here, grab himself a vehicle and disable the others. There is a UAZ back by the coast. There is a buggy available. Snoopy might be able to escape here, having done a ton of damage to Blitz. That is going to be, I guess, a win for him. I don't know what the game plan is after this, but the damage is done, and Snoopy is going to leave Dan. That is not a good situation. The circle is already moving.
Game plan now will be to survive as long as he can. Only 3 players have been taken out of the game so far, and those have all been his teammates. 4 players still left alive for the opposing squad, however. That's going to be an M24. That's a nice crate. I like that. The only way that could get any better is, a level 3 vest or a helmet inside there as well. But still, very quiet early game so far. CHZ also been taken down here, and not sure what happened to him, but that's a very unfortunate position, as he does have enemy players coming in onto him now, as the House of Nobles looking to secure this kill for themselves. Flix will be searching for it alongside his own teammate on the right-hand side. He's dead to rights here as CHZ down and out for the count. 60 players now left alive.
So my understanding, and I learned this from Jabroni over the break, is that I suppose you say that name as Cheese Doodles. So that's not quite intuitive in the spelling, but apparently the case as it is pronounced. So Cheese Doodles going down. House of Nobles picking up a kill there. Attacks having flanked FaZe last game, looking to position themselves in the yellow cabins here, also in the zone, so they should be able to set themselves up nicely here for this first transition. We still have 60 alive, having most of the casualties occurring up in Severny, and we will see teams start to settle into their first spots in the new zone. We hear some trades happening. Looks like Grishka shooting at a transitioning vehicle, and AVANGAR coming out of North Georgia, going to drop right on top of Victus here. So it looks like AVANGAR not going to have an easy transition out of North George. They're getting dangerously close, but sneaking past Victus. Now this is going to be Vex Gaming pulling into a nice little compound here, but m19 not too far away.
Exactly, and having a compound available for them, that's valuable real estate coming into this. We see Vexed on your screen at 27th currently in the standings, and they're going to be looking to propel themselves a little further forward after this game. 4 players left alive. They could secure themselves a very favorable position going into the coming weeks. Of course, Lariat the second just looting up this house as he goes along, and we're going to be waiting now on what the next circle actually is. With this being such an open map, we have to expect the pace of the game to be a little lower. But one thing we can expect from that is an absolute brutal finalizing zone, or at least a brutal mid-game, as all of these teams will have to move later on and move into one another in the center of the circle with very little to work with.
Well, the whole idea behind the 16-team lobby is to allow teams time and space to maneuver, loot, transition in relative ease. Now, those 4 extra teams that we see in the 20 teams lobby becoming less and less of a common thing that we see just from a tournament organizer standpoint. So I kind of enjoy the maneuverability that 16 teams allows, but in the mid game, it does leave for a little bit of a desire for more action, but really it doesn't alleviate some of the major complaints that we see around that 3rd and 4th transition. Once that death phase comes in, where the compounds become fewer and fewer, and all of a sudden you're forced to fight on multiple fronts. You're getting poked from teams that are far away. The sight lines aren't helping you. As we watch here, Invictus transitioning on foot, no vehicles in hand. So they are going to be able to move past AVANGAR without any issue. AVANGAR holding onto that compound. But ultimately, it is about positioning movement. And when no one is dead, a little bit of luck with the zone. So we will see this first change here, as it looks like Blitz is now just transitioning into the zone, Snoopy not far away. And we are going to be moving northwest. So most teams having to transition. Jempty already moving from phase, actually headed right into Gamer's Origin. Jempty might be getting some pressure here, driving right in the low ground. He's driving through the city, or driving through the woods rather, on the motorcycle. High flying, doesn't land any shots yet. Jempty, will he make it through? Yes, but not out of the woods literally yet. He's crashed his motorcycle, having to change directions, speeding away from Gamer's Origin. He gives that well-needed information to his team, and they will veer off around the side of this hill. So FaZe will stay 4 up here. Jempty having to stop and med. So that is a tough transition there, almost costing Jempty his life. We see here FaZe with 33 total kills, 4 a game on average. That seems a little bit low for a team that is well ahead on kills so far. I believe, actually maybe not this evening, but in most other leagues I've seen them play often at the top of the kills range. Dan, this first transition is going to set the tone for the rest of this game.
Exactly, and we're taking a look at the map now, and look at this. Already, teams making their early rotations in. Still plenty of space to play with. Only 2 teams in direct contention right now, and that's Team 13 and Team 16, just south of the ruins, over the top of this compound. Currently looking at a Noctiv as he's trying to find where all of these gunshots are coming from. Fire raining down from every which direction. Hello, Senpai is going to be saying goodbye any moment now. Drainus will veer around the side here. Out in the open, though, very deadly position for him to be. Is he going to see Sipik in that window? No, not just yet. Sipik not going to be taking a look at him. Not just yet, but there we go. Safety in numbers has been established. Successful compound breach so far, as only Sipik is remaining from Team 16. That's Vivectus Esports. Currently 34th in the standings. The push is coming through. They need to find this final member. Make it clean, make it snappy. And that's exactly what they're looking to doing. They've rounded down which house he could be in, and this could be Keen running into him now, but that is it. Keen, quick on the flick, quick on the trigger finger, and that is going to get Team 16 taking 16th place. Vivectus Esports out early.
Yep, Invictus, unfortunately, our first team eliminated. Now we have Gamer's Origin engaging here. Looks like Vex is tied up with them. May die. Also there, looks like Mika's breaching a little bit, looking at the top of that hill, cresting. Maydai putting some nice information for Phantom. Phantom maybe having to move a little bit left. He's going to do so. Breaks out left and knocks down Mika's. Now the nades coming out onto Maydai. Maydai now having the ability to get a little bit of a reprieve here, as Raz, Mickey, and everyone looking towards where Phantom just flanked. They're wondering how many players are there. If Elastic pushes up here, he could have another flank as well. Vex in a precarious position. Mika's already down, but Berlin also nearby. It looks like that's going to be Novus Ignis. And right now, I'm not sure why Vex is so spread out here. They are engaged. They do have a team right on top of this ridge. There is no trade available for Mickey if he goes down as well. Looks like they're going to opt to try and play this passively, as is Gamer's Origin, not inclined to push this ridge. So Mika's will get rezzed here if he can get down this ridge safely. And Gamer's Origin is opting to just play passively here. Actually, I think that was Great People Only nearby. Regardless, more pressure coming from Niels. I guess they do have a decent sight line there. Elastic's unable to really do anything, so Niels maintaining that line of sight. Nothing to be done, really. Niels holding that line of sight. Nothing. Dan, I guess if you're Gamer's Origin, I guess you might just want to break off here. Batulin's nearby. You have another team that you might not even be aware of nearby. What do you do here?
pushing into the compound is definitely a risky strategy that these guys could opt for, but obviously pushing into the full 4-stack of Vex is going to be a very tall order for these guys to even play off of. Finstack is also very close by, working with limited information here being the name of the game, especially with the circle encroaching at this moment in time. We're going to be seeing a new circle established for us in just another second. So let's take a look where this is going to take us, because that will perhaps be the thing which shakes Gamers Origin's hands and tells them to go in a different direction. Do have in the direct center of this circle, however, is AVANGAR. Now I'm intrigued to see how they're going to react to this, because do they want to stay so central? Oh, Batulin! He's coming in like that force to be reckoned with, but he's going to have to try and secure something, as Elastics is going to be finishing him off with ease there. Nade doesn't finish anything off this time round, and Gamers Origin securing their position and securing at least 14th place.
So it looks like Jempty has made a relatively safe transition, but the rest of FaZe is now showing up right on top of Jerpsy. Jerpsy, unfortunately, actually trading with Mixie, but it looks like Finstack is going to lose one here or not. It looks like they have also shown up, and now Mixie and Fuzzface are being caught out. The transition crash there, crossing paths. Jempty has no options to support. Hack's having to retreat now. Oh no, and now Mixie has been taken down. Jempty receiving another shot there. But Finstack and FaZe actually jumping right on top of each other. Both teams opting to stop and trade. FaZe appearing to lose that battle in the one-on-one, not planned whatsoever. Finstack taking a strip off of them, so it's going to be Axe and Jempty holding onto the hill cover right below them. But there's nothing to be done from a maneuverability standpoint. FaZe is going to be stuck here. Vexed also on the hill. This is going to be very difficult for them to manage, but AVANGAR holding this center yellow zone, or sorry, the yellow cabins right in the center of the zone here around these hills. Vex nearby. This might end up in an open field ending again. Mamino shooting at Mikaz. So Vex very active here.
Vexed making sure to keep the momentum going. They cannot have such a central location without securing themselves from every angle, and that's exactly what they're doing, as we're going to be seeing a push down onto Vitality now. That's Araxe inside the vehicle, not going to be taken out of this game just yet. Does dodge a lot of that gunfire, or more importantly, that gunfire doesn't land directly. It's Monkey, however, who's left out to dry just behind that rock, able to return some fire down onto Archway. How much fire can you return when you still have Team 4 in this compound beating it down?
So wind and rain, they're all together. There's not much maneuverability there. There's no way they can get out of this place without running through an open field. Wind and rain having a nice evening so far, picking up a win and a few other nice placements. Very well in command of leaderboard today. So we will see if they can continue this momentum. Hacks now looking to be the last man standing as attacks. Group D receiving fire here. It looks like he is going to get taken down. That is Wind and Rain picking up the down. Will Flix be able to steal that kill? He will, so that's one up for them. The House of Nobles doing some damage here, and attacks actually flipping. There's multiple people in that goal, and they will go up and out. Sunbird picking up 2 kills there. That's Kai God and Frost going down from attacks. Now it's just Lixern by himself. Still in a vehicle as well, and now what's he going to do? The vehicle's not working out. The spin comes, and so does the explosion, and now Attacks' transition has been completely destroyed, as has their vehicles and their hopes at a decent placement in this game. They go out in 14th place. Dan, that was disastrous.
Sunbird been showing up absolutely huge alongside the rest of House of Nobles. These guys coming in relatively not unknown. I'm very I don't want to say that, but they've been so just had such an incredible performance. We're going to go into this replay real quick. Attacks making that move through. They skidded at the end there. That extra stop just allowing the tracking coming through from Sunbird, picking up those 2 kills and going absolutely huge, just racking up the frags this game. Well, all of today. Beautiful work overall. This circle presenting itself, however, is presenting a new task for all of these teams who must start their rotation in. Gamers Origin very early to that, but we do see Team 11 just right next to this drop. Will they be going for this anytime soon? Because Great People Only could be picking up something huge here.
This is actually, I think this is the second time we've seen a crate drop right on top. And this is an AUG. Oh, it's just an AUG.
I love it.
If you have an M4, I wouldn't even trade. I would just take the ammo and leave that thing behind.
I absolutely love it.
The AUG, honestly, like it's a good gun. It's not the worst gun in the game, but the M4 I think is still handles a little bit better. We're actually seeing here, it looks like Vexed tied up with Timmy Z and the rest of Finstack have been coming off their hill and that successful engagement with FaZe. Now looking to keep the momentum going, getting a res on to Siki here. So it looks like they're going to be engaged with Blitz. Blitz, a little bit quiet since the early game, and I would expect so, having such a rough start to this game. And it looks like we will be saved from at least one field ending around the ruins, and we will be heading around that yellow cabin open field south of Pachinki. AVANGAR in nice position here, Dan.
Exactly, and we're seeing Team 4, Wind and Rain, another team who came into today with just one plan in mind, to make a name for themselves, and they've done exactly that. They're defending this compound now, and they're going to be defending that against pro100. Pro100, of course, not having the best time this evening at all. We did see some pretty disastrous early game starts from them in Game 3, comprised of Krabic, Dyrem, Grishka Power, Francario this evening, and these guys, 3 members already, and Krabic already on the receiving end of some fire. 23rd place, however, so these guys are doing very decently for themselves, and over to Team 4 is, well, this is quite the crime scene. I think we just saw a murder.
Yeah, it looks like Wind and Rain's fortunes have turned here. I'm not sure if they decided to try and come out and loot, but maybe just trying to pick up a nice position here. But oh my God, there's a huge battle happening here. It looks like Great People Only is now engaged directly with Vitality. Vitality taking 3 members down off of Great People Only, or sorry, 2 members down plus 1 of their own. But Monkey is down. It looks like that nade is going to come out and land right in the middle of all of these players. Not sure if that was a frag grenade or a smoke. Regardless, it looks like Great People Only is going to try and get some reses off here. Vitality on the defensive. Araxi will go down, so Helu taking 1 down off of Vitality. That's Shadow, the last man standing, but Helu is receiving fire from AVANGAR, not willing to let this fight go unnoticed. Ran is finishing that off for himself. So now Great People Only is all in the smokes, and now Vitality's going to get above a window here to get some res, but it's going to be Arax getting res by Shadow. And I think these are the last 2 standing for Vitality. Vitality's woes of making it through the mid-game continue here. Great People Only, not one to go lightly. The return fire, you hear the AUG ring out. Tampula going down. Mumino downing Araxi. So it's really a Vanguard playing absolute terror right now. Not allowing any time and space. Shadow taking dangerously low. And he will go down. And Vitality eliminated in 12th place, Dan. That's incredible.
Definitely not the performance we were expecting from them this evening, but of course, we all have those days, and this could just be one of those. Vitality just not able to find that consistency this evening. Consistently trying to work out something, but getting caught out mid-rotation or in not optimal late-game gunfights. Of course, 12th place, not going to be what they were expecting, but plenty of time over the rest of the season for these guys to recuperate and find themselves a nice little momentum swing. Over on the northeast side of this current circle, however, over by Ruins, 3 teams currently jostling for position as Team 7, Team Blitzstat will start to make their move out. They don't want anything to do with this. They want space. They need that field. They need something to work with, because at the second, getting a little bit dicey and a little too claustrophobic down there. Nuctive and the rest of Team 13 at Team AVANGAR, respectively, are just holding this compound so well. They'll still have compound within the circle for the next zone as well, so we'll have to see how they decide to play around this and when or where they will make their rotations. Kaz getting murdered off on the outside there is going to be Team 9, the House of Nobles, another of our winning teams this evening, picking up another kill, another injection going in as they'll make their rotation into the next circle, as once again the gas is starting to close.
How dare you call it gas? Second of all, no, I'm joking. So yes, with the zone now in transition, Corin finishing off Krabic. That's an insta kill there. So that is going to be a 10th place for him. So with that ghillie suit, he does blend in very well. House of Nobles still full strength, picking up a couple of kills here on their rotation. Might have heard those gunshots, but they are actually moving down and into the zone from the south rather than trying to come up to this eastern side. AVANGAR still holding on to some cover here, and look who it is, Team Blitz rather, still 4 up after that battle in Severity. Mika's there as well. We do have Gamers Origin And Novus Ignis there, Hacks moving in. So FaZe still holding on to a thread here. If Hacks can stay quiet and out of sight, he might be able to get himself into the top 5 because there's going to be a lot of pressure on the eastern side of this zone.
He did it in Game 3. If he can do it in Game 4, he's going to be propelling his team up the standings once again. FaZe starting to recover themselves, starting to find some consistency in less than optimal situations. So brilliant work coming through from them, even off of the back foot. Team 7 over here. Once again, we have Team Blitz, we have Vexed Gaming, and we also have the good old Novus Ignis just standing in wait around this outer edge of the circle. No need to move at the second. The circle's starting to constrict itself, and that will be deciding where we will go next in this game. We're so close to this now, and we're coming down to the wire. There's 21 players left alive. We're in a top 10 position as these teams battle it out to take away that final game of the evening. That's going to be very central this time around, as Gamers Origin have the best position so far.
It looks like as well, Novus Ignis not having to move too much. I believe they have just natural cover. Oh no, they actually have a building set here. So this very powerful compound being held by 4 up. Novus Ignis chilling the split between the 2 buildings. Now this is going to be up to AVANGAR and to an extent Blitz try and whittle away at each other. House of Nobles also is still a factor for up as well. So it looks like they should be able to engage here directly with AVANGAR. So we will have 2 of our well-placed teams this evening going straight at each other as Inactive shooting through the trees and onto Sunbird. Only smoke here. House of Nobles having probably the hardest transition here. Not a lot for them to do, and they're going to have to use vehicle.
AVANGAR also going to have to make their move from a very comfortable compound. They're just going to be taken out of that entirely and moving into where they don't necessarily have too much information going forward. We did see Inactive taking some damage from his left side there. House of Nobles, they need to focus more on this transition. They will come against
Snoopy,
one remaining member of the Vega Squadron, however.
Snoopy, the last man standing from the Battle of Severity. So all teams technically still have survived Severity from that early game battle, but Snoopy in no better of a position than he was 20 minutes or so ago. He's all by himself. He's listening to this battle pop off between Gamers Origin and House of Nobles. AVANGAR not far away either, and all of a sudden House of Nobles is getting absolutely bombarded. That is 3 down instantly, and now it's only Flicks remaining. So House of Nobles going from 4 up to 1 up very rapidly, and the circle closing. This is looking very dire for them.
1 grenade securing 2 kills. Incredible arm on Drainus there. He has a bright future in batting sports, I am sure, if this doesn't work out. And Flicks not going to be working out for him at the second, as he takes his team 8th place going forward. Sorry, I've just got confirmation that was from Snoopy. Snoopy instead has a bright future in batting sports as we move forward. Once again, circle encroaching forward, and we do have most of our teams already locked into a position. Team 10 here, Novus Ignis, still having that compound. Whether they will have to move out of that anytime soon will be deciding their fate. Team 7, however, Team Blitz, will also have to move forward depending on where this works out, and still 4 players left alive too.
So it looks like we're going to have a bit of a battle here developing between Blitz and the well-entrenched Novus Ignis. Gamers Origin getting picked apart, as is Hacks. Hacks goes down, so FaZe will come out in 6th place. Now it looks like all teams are going to be moving out into the open. AVANGAR, if they can manage this position and these fights, this upcoming battle between Novus Ignis and the rest of Team Blitz is going to be a big deal. Elastics putting some pressure on Adranus, but Adranus jumps out and says nah, and takes him down. So AVANGAR very aggressive and well in control here, bringing the vehicles in. They're going to hold up on the low side of this hill. The nades being thrown, allowing them to transition here. If they can hold the low side of this hill against Bootless, they will have a great, Novus Ignis, they should have the best possible chance to win now, because it's going to be Blitz and Novus Ignis battling on this exit from their compound.
And AVANGAR is such a crucial position here. They have full control of this final circle. They have an idea of where everybody remaining in this server is. Novus Ignis, however, will have to make their move very soon, and we have to bet that there are plenty of teams just waiting to pick these remaining players off. And Nuctive pushing forward, looking for more information. The spread out, the lineup coming forwards. They're pushing for it. They're looking for this win. They don't want to take it sitting down. Drain is going to be finding one kill down there onto Lin before being traded back himself very quickly. Playzone is also starting to take a couple of victims here as Mad Roski is going to be taken down to this entirely. Keen taken out of the fight by Milkes too.
So looks like the Team Blitz having come from that battle in Severity, staying 3 up, and now it looks like, unfortunately for AVANGAR, they've gone separate directions and have now pinched them in the middle of the zone. Onactive trying to maintain some vision. Now it's going to be Mamino going against all 3 players. Will he be able to do anything? He's got that mini. Switch to the M4. Downs 1. Looking for more. Bring in, but he cannot. He should have went with the M4 first, I think. Unfortunately, he's unable to maintain that flag. Now Onactive is surrounded, and he is going to be taken down. So they split up. Unfortunately, I thought that it was going to be easier for AVANGAR to manage that, but they didn't battle each other. They actually just avoided each other. And now is going to be a battle between Novus Ignis and the remaining members of Team Blitz. So Blitz and Ignis here. Wow, that's unfortunate for AVANGAR.
For sure. And taking a look at that, AVANGAR, they're going to have to be kicking themselves if they, or when they VOD review this game, because they had everything on the line. And they just weren't able to make it in the end. Now their vehicle cover is going to be used by Novus Ignis. But we do have the circle encroaching in on the north side of this. This is going to push both of teams in towards one another. Look at them. They're just using that as the lineup. The Mexican standoff could be coming through in the 4 versus 3. As we have Team 7, Team Blitz versus Team 10. Novus Ignis to finalize this game as 7 players remain in the game.
So right now, it's going to be a bit of a positional battle. Technically, Novus Ignis does have the advantage. A lot of these players have already been downed. I don't know what their loot situation is like for Team Blitz. So Team Blitz at a relative disadvantage here from sight lines, but there is no advantage to the zone. Both teams need to advance. There's only 14 seconds remaining. The meds are coming out. The smokes are coming out. All utility on the line. Vehicles moving, maybe trying to get some pressure out. Are they going to allow it? The shots a little bit laggy there. I'm not sure why he's waiting so long. He's got a clear line of sight. Shoot the gun, Lin. Shoot the... Oh, my... So finally, he will land a knock there. And now I think that vehicle was used as a bit of a bait. And now the rest of Novus Ignis is pressing up the hill. The play zone will finish off Menix. Now Pony Rider is the last man standing, and he's going to be going up against a 4-man rotation here. This is Novus Ignis' game to lose, and they will not. So now it's Novus Ignis holding on to that compound for full effect and taking a first place finish. The battle in Severity, not one to dissuade Team Blitz from taking a second place finish. So consistency very well right now, or very high from Team Blitz. AVANGAR taking a sad 3rd place with all those kills, a very intense amount there. And then we see Razmiki and company rounding out number 4 and Gamers Origin number 5. And we lose Vitality to 12th place and FaZe to 6th. So not the showing we thought we would see from them tonight, Dan, but ultimately a very intense set of games.
5 kills are going to be going to the victor there, but taking our last game of the evening in a fairly convincing fashion as well. The position favoring neither team, and the better team coming off on the top end of that one. Beautiful work from everyone tonight. And once again, just to stress what I said at the head of this game, excellent execution coming through from so many of our teams going forward. The pure level of skill displayed here today has just been phenomenal. Each and every one of these teams upping their game. And as we go into the later stages of this season, we're going to be seeing some amazing fights coming forward in the leaderboards too. But my goodness, what a Monday. I usually hate Mondays, but this is one hell of a way to finish it. So, well, I think I'm done.
I think we're both done, and these games have been excellent. Dan, thank you so much for co-casting. For all of you watching at home, thank you for watching. I think we will kick it back to the desk for one last segment to break down the day's action. So Jabroni, Poro, take it away. And Cam.
Thank you very much, my 2 wonderful caster friends, Moses and Dudge. Novus Ignis, the newly put together Novus Ignis, brand new team of 4 entering PUBG Online and grabbing their first win of the season. So congratulations to them. Definitely a much needed win for that squad. They were sitting on the lower end of the leaderboard for sure. I think that I'll let you guys go